Kansas State down 4. Got to go quick. The Wildcats looking for a rally. That's Carter for 3. He's got it. Big shot. Not over yet.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com.
Hawkins tees one up from 3. Picked up Newton inside. Back and forth it goes. Pinballed around. Hawkins took it. Good. Big time hit.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
San Diego State looking for the win. Butler, get it in. A rope, hands it to Trammell. 3 seconds, 2 seconds. Trammell drives. He's fouled.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
He's got a mismatch with Allen if he wants it. He's got Pack. He's got him. Give it to him.
Barkley keeps it instead.
Look at the ball taken away by the Hurricanes. Poplar.
Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube. Brought to you by TFNB, your bank for life.
Kansas State now needs a 3 to tie it. Clock ticks. Noel dribbles. He's looking for someone. Masood got to put it up. And that's it! The Owls of Florida Atlantic!
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Here we go on a Monday. Final Four is set. Men's basketball. 1 in 125,000 odds that these would be the 4 teams, Garrett. The Final Four, the semifinals. UConn, San Diego State, obviously Florida Atlantic. Miami are the 4 teams. UConn, Miami in the nightcap Saturday. And then, of course, the Florida Atlantic San Diego State game. That's a 4 seed, 2 5 seeds, and a 9 seed. Never, ever has it been this way. And is it because of perhaps the transfer portal? Is it because of NIL? Is it because teams have older players that could make a run? And yes, we'll get into what was the collapse of Texas in that game last night against Miami, Florida, and the Hurricanes.
Well, I can tell you that I don't know what the NIL situations are at Florida Atlantic and San Diego State, but the transfer portal certainly has something to do with it. Now, Miami's best player, or one of their 2 best players, is Nigel Pack, who we know NIL had something to do with it in the transfer portal because he came, it was very public of the deals that those guys were getting from LifeWallet and John Ruiz. That was the most transparency we've had in an NIL deal maybe ever on anything that's come across. And with UConn, I'm sure it's all of it, but UConn has also, in the last couple of years found their way to back to being UConn again. I mean, they're a blue blood that we've kind of forgotten in the conversation sometimes the last couple of years because they did, after they won those titles, kind of fall off for a little bit, but now they're back and playing better than anybody in the country except for maybe Florida Atlantic. So
let me tell you something. That Florida Atlantic's a great story. I got some notes on them in a minute. Craig, your thoughts about what we saw Saturday, Sunday? We have the Final Four. It is here. Texas, it looked like, had everything wrapped up in a bow, and then all of a sudden things changed in the last 8 to 10 minutes of that game.
Yeah, disappointing to not see any Big 12 teams get in the Final Four just because you had 2 cracks at it, and I thought that Texas looked as juicy of a pick to win it all as anybody, and then obviously had the Disu injury, and that didn't help matters, and yeah, had it there for the taking again, and just a lot of different things unraveled for them, and then K-State to have the opportunity that they did and to come up just short, and just the way that game ended on a no shot, that was just a really tough thing to watch, is that you have that opportunity and you don't even get a shot off. It was a really rough ending for them, but great seasons for both teams. Rodney Terry, there's been a million words written about the job that he did in Austin after Chris Beard's abrupt firing and just that whole situation. And now he's rightfully under very strong consideration to be the next head coach. Looks like he may be the next head coach, which I think would be a great move by the Longhorns and deserved. But, yeah, I mean, great season for them and just couldn't couldn't hold on to it. But man, they were right there knocking on the door, and I know that's going to eat away at them. Same thing for Kansas State. I mean, it was right there and just couldn't finish the job. But it just goes to show you how hard it is to get to Final Fours, how hard it is to win national titles in basketball and be the last team standing at the end of these tournaments. But definitely an interesting Final Four field. I mean, to have the seeds that we did that you listed off, I saw a couple comments about the TV ratings, and they were from fans whose teams got knocked out. So, yeah, there might be others that could have played in the Final Four that would have gotten, a million more viewers for CBS or whoever, but I don't give a dang about the TV viewers when I'm watching. So, sure, it would have been great to see, Texas or K-State or whoever make it this far, but I think it's cool and unique and something we've never seen before. So let's see how it goes with these 4 teams and whoever emerges from this thing.
All right, so Paxton's upset about the fouls in the last 8 minutes of the game. It seemed like what Miami did. First of all, Miami shot like 58 or 60% for the game. Texas was unconscious too, and then they started to miss a few, and then they started to turn it over, and then Miami started to get aggressive, get to the basket. Lots of fouls were called. Paxton doesn't like them. He didn't like the call on Brock Cunningham. That's debatable too. But UT, in my opinion, kind of backed down. And they're an older and physical team with Hunter and others, and it just kind of surprised me that they did not. Well, it wasn't as if they didn't answer. The game went down to the wire, but Miami did 28 of 32 at the free throw line to beat Texas to knock out the Horns, and Miami moves into their to the Final Four for the first time. First, all 3 of the 4 teams have never been here. San Diego State, Florida Atlantic, which just started basketball like in the late 80s, and then also the Hurricanes from the U.
Yeah, to the foul on Brock Cunningham, look, Brock Cunningham's well known as a very, I'll call it physical, some would call it dirty player. And look, that's great. Look, if he's on your team, I don't mind having a dirty player if he's on my team, but that's the risk you take when you have a guy who goes full tilt like Brock Cunningham, and it was a foul on him. It was a foul, and, look, didn't like the fouls late. Texas had a massive lead in that game.
Yeah,
So,
and eventually they did. Miami paraded to the free throw line, and they made them. And I thought when Dylan Mitchell got the alley-oop to put Texas back up 10 after Miami had made their first cut to 6, and then they had the alley-oop to Dylan Mitchell, I thought it was over. But Miami did not back down, and a huge win for the Hurricanes that I basically just thought that. I even texted our good friend UT fan Paxton. I said, I thought that thing was over with 10 minutes left in the game. And Rodney Terry, all the reports are that he is the one that they're targeting, that he will be the next head coach. I don't think anything yet is official, but this came yesterday evening from Chip Brown.
Well, Cunningham said after the game that he thought that particular play was a foul, but he also said that wasn't the only reason they lost the game. I understand why Texas fans pointed to the officiating there, especially towards the end. I get that. I definitely do. But, even the players involved will say that's not the entire reason. I mean, like you said, they had a lead, they had opportunities, and they just couldn't close it out. And, when you don't, control what you can control and you leave some of it in the hands of the officials, then that can go sideways. So, make a couple more shots and maybe that's not the result, or, make one more play on defense and maybe that's not the result. But I do get the frustration, though. I mean, it sucks when, you get calls not going your way, especially in a big game like that with so much on the line. But, I think that you can look around and point to a lot of different things for why they lost, that included, but not the only reason why. So, back to the Rodney Terry graphic.
Yeah, the Rodney Terry graphic. Put that up again if you don't mind. This is from Chip Brown late yesterday evening, that he is the one that will be offered the job at the University of Texas. To me, there was no way this could have gone any other way, but there was always that you wonder. His emotions in the postgame were fantastic. I loved him. Real. His voice, he could almost not even talk because he was so caught up in the emotions of what this team did with him and for him and what he did for them. But the ride ended yesterday evening after they lost that game to the University of Miami.
Yeah, and Jeff Goodman and others, like John Rothstein, all reporting that it is a 5-year deal and around $3 million a year for Rodney Terry here in the last 10 minutes or so.
Good for him.
We should hear something official here pretty soon on that. And again, Craig made a great point on Friday. We were talking about it. There's no reason to name the coach until the season's over. But my thought on it is you'd have a really hard time like naming anybody else the coach when who else around there has taken Texas to the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 lately. You know, like it's been since Rick Barnes, and it was a long time ago on Rick Barnes. That's why they got tired of Rick Barnes and encouraged him on the way to Knoxville, Tennessee. So, so they got what they wanted. I think it'll be interesting to see how he builds I mean, he's losing, some veteran guys and he'll build around Tyrese Hunter next year, but they'll
be fine.
Yeah,
they even when they weren't winning enough are going to get big time players. Rodney Terry's a hell of a recruiter. They will be fine. They do lose some very high level of talent and also experience, but they'll be just fine. And we'll put up a note from Goodman here in just a minute. But I thought Texas I didn't realize this. This is one of the things I kept man, they're shooting so incredibly efficient. And then I thought about this, and do you think this had anything to do with it? One, they're really good. They really are very good, but they just played there a couple of weeks ago in the Big 12 championship game. They were in Kansas City, Missouri, and they hammered Kansas, remember, to win the championship. Then they had the first couple of rounds on the road, and they came back and were in the same arena where they got very comfortable during the Big 12 championship tournament.
Guess it didn't matter.
Well, no, I was wondering why they still shot the ball. You're right.
No.
They still shot the ball very well.
Yeah, I mean, that's convenient. You think that would aid them maybe more than it did. But, yeah, I mean, it was tough. You had a great game for Miller from Miami. He was great. And, I think that there's going to be a lot of what ifs. What if that basket goes in? What if we get a stop here? Miami went on a tear, and Texas didn't have an answer for it. And, yeah, they had a nice little shop set up on the free throw line as well. But guess what they did? They made their free throws. They made nearly every dadgum one of those things. And so when you get a bunch of them and you make most of them, then that's going to work out well in your favor. That's a brutal loss, though. Don't slice it any other way. As good of this season, as good as this season was, and as fun as it was for Texas fans following along, I mean, this group is going to change. There are going to be departures no matter. I know Brock Cunningham's coming back and whoever else comes back as well. I mean, that will be, a shade of what they were this year, but just because of the unique challenges that they faced, and this group in particular, it's going to be hard to replicate that. But they'll reload for sure. It's just that, kind of like I said with, forget who it was a week or two ago, we were talking about something similar. But when you get that opportunity, man, you better take advantage of it because you don't know when you're going to get back to that point. And we saw how hard it was to get to this point, how long it took for them to get back to this point, to the Elite Eight and get a crack at the Final Four. You would think that they get back there a lot quicker this next time around. But, it's tough, and it's really hard to win a title. But I do think Rodney Terry was deserving of the job. I think most people agreed with that. My thing on Friday was just like, what's the rush to name him the coach before you're finished? Because if you're in the Elite Eight and you announce Rodney Terry's the head coach, it's like, that's great. But do you lose a little bit of your edge by doing that because they're playing for this guy? And
I don't think you mess with what you're doing. I think that even though that would have been great to hear it, I think it could have been a slight distraction. Not that they would have won or lost had they announced it, but I think you just don't mess with a good thing.
But if you were playing to prove something or to prove, and this guy deserves the job, you don't mess with a good thing. But I also, think as well in that same vein, why mess with it? I mean, they're winning, they're advancing. They got a chip on their shoulder. They're playing for this guy. They want this guy to be the guy, and you do want to reward that. But, why do that before they're even, done? Why do that before it's? I think I made the comparison, and it wasn't great, but it's like, you got sharks in the water, and right before you're about to have this big showdown, you throw a bunch of chum in the water, get them all fat and happy, and they're like, it's not the same as when they're rabid for some meat. So I thought that was smart to not do that. And now you can just wait till you lost a game, which just so happened to be your next one, and you can go the official route to making that official. And I think, everybody feels like that's the right hire to make.
So here are a couple other notes on Florida Atlantic. This from Matt Norlander. They did not have a basketball program until the 1980s, late 80s. I think it was like 88. One NCAA tournament before this year. 9th seed going to the Final Four. 35-3, by the way. And their Ken Pom ranking, their net was really high and higher than a lot of teams that were even, I think, 3 or 4 seeds in the tournament. And here they are, upending Jerome Tang in Kansas State with that was. Jeez, I mean, it's a heck of a game.
The best tweet I saw about it was from Stuart Mandel that said he went to do a story back when I can't remember who was the football coach. You know him if you read the name, but like 3 or 4 football coaches ago at FAU.
Howard Schnellenberger?
No, it wasn't Schnellenberger. It was one of those guys in the realm of, it was before Willie Taggart and before Lane Kiffin. It was whoever was there before. But he said, I went to do a story on them, and they were the kind of program that had yard signs that would say basketball game tonight. Like that's how little they promoted their program. And I would say that until a few years ago, half the residents of Boca couldn't even tell you where the university was.
Yeah.
I mean, they would just be like, yeah, I think it's over that way. It's on that side of town. And that's all they would really know. So this is huge for them. It's huge for Florida Atlantic to be on the national scene, because I would think that if you just quizzed people on where Florida Atlantic University is actually located in Florida, they'd be like, well, it's clearly on the Atlantic side.
Yeah,
I mean, that's all they can tell you.
Remember our guest last week on Thursday was talking about, the 1.8 miles or 0.8 miles or whatever from the beach, and they're getting an incredible amount of publicity and a great recruiting run for them. Now, on Jim Larrañaga of Miami and the run that they've made, this is the story about him. He is now, along with Larry Brown, the second head coach to take multiple programs to the Final Four as a 5 seed or worse. And Larry Brown was, of course, a guy that won national titles and coached forever and ever. Also, this was yesterday exactly 17 years to the day when Jim Larrañaga took what was Cinderella that year, George Mason, to the Final Four. So he is putting himself in some heady, I guess you could say, company with what he's done with Miami.
I had a weird feelings watching that game yesterday. Knowing that I've never rooted for Miami to win anything, but it's unbelievable what he's done. He's as good at the transfer portal as anybody has been, for sure. And, of course, having the backing of John Ruiz and Life Wallet certainly helps that. But the guy's a fantastic coach, and his teams just play so fast and hard. And they're, I thought maybe the ACC had a weird year, so much so that Jim Phillips, wants to have a meeting of all the coaches to rebrand the ACC. But look, they've got a team in the Final Four, and they're the only Power 5 conference that does this year. So
Carl Pelini. Was that who it was at Florida Atlantic?
Maybe, yeah.
Timothy was saying it's Carl Pelioni, misspelled Carl Pelini. I can't remember if that was who it was, but Timothy throwing that. Charlie Partridge was another name that he
They've
popped
had
out.
7 head coaches, so we can go through that list pretty quickly.
Clint was talking about UT died by the 3. I don't think so. They were 13 of 25. That's a huge number. I think shot 50% from the 3, and then you hit 13 of them. They eventually just started missing shots after they hadn't missed any. Miami still hadn't missed a shot, it seems like to me. Great to have all of you in the chat room. Also, those of you today who have already joined us in the text line. Our guest lineup includes Brown University basketball coach Mike Martin to kind of break down what we saw and who we have coming up this week. Former Baylor and Colorado wide receiver R.J. Sneed today was at the Baylor Pro Day. Charlie Brewer was there throwing to tight ends and receivers. Apu was, of course, the number one attraction. Connor Galvin getting attention among some others. It was pretty cool that former Midway star Jackson Player, who played most of his career at Tulsa, was doing his pro day where he started when he was a freshman at Midway, and they built the brand new indoor facility, which is a phenomenal place. We'll hear from Mark Zeigler, covers San Diego State. Jim Williams joins us, the Forbes columnist, wrote a big column today on Jim Nantz. This is his last NCAA tournament, which he's been a voice of that for so many years. David Helman on the NFL news, including Lamar Jackson requesting to trade Paul's top 5 today as well to close out the show. All right, so let me see here. I got a couple of notes. I was told 32 of the NFL teams were there today. I saw I think Jack may have said there was 3/4 of the NFL teams, something like 24 to 26 of them were today at the Combine.
Yeah, are we talking pro day now?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great number. I think that Apu is, like you said, the main attraction there. Connor Galvin's getting some attention too, but beyond that, it's pretty thin pickings, just a lot of guys who hope for opportunities, whether that's the NFL or the more likely routes of the XFL or USFL, whatever other leagues that might be out there. I think that's probably awaiting most of the guys. But that's okay because, there's been some former guys who have thrived there, like Jordan Williams, the linebacker playing in San Antonio now for the XFL, had, a big defensive score this past weekend. And we've seen Abram Smith have a nice little start to his XFL career. And you don't know what that turns into or blossoms into. But, yeah, there will be guys get opportunities, but certainly Galvin and Ika are the main attractions, and curious where they, start to fall or they kind of know that the way that they're being viewed right now. But does Pro Day make any bit of a difference? Does that change their stock at all? I don't know that it does, but yeah, very curious to see how the path goes the rest of the way for those guys.
Yeah, I would say with Ika that, because of the position he plays at nose tackle and the size he is and how athletic he is, pretty much every team would draft him if they had a need at that spot or wanted to, if he came to them. And pretty much every team will have an opportunity to get him because he's probably ranked in most circles between about 45 and 65, as far as the player goes. So, maybe San Francisco, who doesn't pick until their 99th pick, wouldn't have a shot at him if they, decided not to trade up. But he'll have one. Connor Galvin, I think, will get drafted. I think that Jackson Player and Jacob Gall will definitely get free agent looks for sure, and probably preferred. And maybe Jackson and Jacob could get drafted late as well. But we'll see. And then the other guys, it's going to be interesting to see kind of where they all fall. Ben Sims maybe in there as well.
Ben Sims was there. Obviously, you like I mentioned the R.J. Sneed. He's going to join us for a little bit today at 3:30, and then Mike Martin, Brown University basketball coach, will join us too. Dylan Doyle was there and mentioned that during the NFLPA All-Star Week, he tore his MCL and PCL. And has been rehabbing that, and this maybe get some news in the next month of whether or not he is cleared to start doing things. The draft, of course, is just over a month from now, but that was kind of tough news for Dylan Doyle as he was down in Florida training, then went to that game, and then was injured during that week. Also, Gene Taylor, who's been a guest on this show, I think at least 2 to 3 times, Kansas State AD, has been named the NCAA, or the National Association of Collegiate Athletic Directors, AD of the Year. Mack Rhodes got this, I think, a couple of different years ago. And Chris Kleinman, K-State football coach, will be on the show next week. We know for sure on Tuesday. Taylor and K-State football won the Big 12 championship game, played in the Sugar Bowl. Basketball team had their great run with 26 wins, including the Elite Eight appearance with Jerome Tang. So congratulations to K-State AD Gene Taylor. Also, one other note. Mark Vital, had him on the show about a week ago after Baylor was knocked out of the tournament by Creighton. Mark Vital and former Clemson quarterback Kelly Bryant are among a group of current and former college athletes who will actually try out this week for the WWE at WrestleMania in Los Angeles.
Well, that's maybe what he was talking about last week when we had him on. Yeah.
And, of course, his nickname of the Villain. Craig, is there anybody from wrestling history who has had the nickname tagged Villain?
Yeah, there is one. It didn't work out very well for him. Got caught up in the wrestling Me Too movement a few years ago. So, maybe Mark can put some better shine on that nickname. But, there's a guy named Marty Skrull who was pretty big and pretty hot there for a good minute as the whole AEW thing was starting to get underway and eventually turn into a company and all that. And he would have been involved in that if not for that whole wrestling Me Too, because they had their own little chapter of that when the whole world was sort of coming to a reckoning with that. But he was the Villain. I'm not sure off the top of my head if there's anybody else with that specific name, but Mark could make that work. This isn't anything new for WWE. They've been having tryouts for pro athletes on the regular. Now they've got a whole NIL wing that the Cavender twins, for example, from Miami, have an NIL deal with WWE. I couldn't tell you a single thing that they've done, but they're involved, and there's a lot of others from various backgrounds in college athletics that they sign, pretty much every year. So that'll be great if Mark can get signed up and enter their developmental system out in Orlando and get all involved. He's definitely got a big personality. He's got size. He's got a bit of a character about him, but it's easier said than done. Just because you're big and an athlete doesn't mean you've got the charisma or the want to or the ability to. So that's really cool, though, for him, and we'll see how it pans out. There was Laquan McGowan at one point in time. Everybody's like, he'd be a great wrestler, and I kept saying, I was like, there's more to it than just being big and athletic.
He went to like a camp, I know, or something like that, but Laquan was so quiet and
I could see Mark working out better for him, but that's very cool and a great opportunity, and depending on how this rest of his kind of prime goes, and he's got a bit more of that to go, but he's already dabbled with NBA and NFL and now WWE, so he's been all over the place, but hopefully this is his landing spot. That'd be great.
All right, so there we are. Craig did not know I was going to ask about any other named villain, but of course his wrestling historical perspective. Marty Scurll had a good entrance. Didn't know, though, he was involved in the sexual harassment issues. All right, when we come back, R.J. Sneed was at Baylor. Pretty good player. Transferred to Colorado. Just kind of had it, was there. He was there today at Baylor's Pro Day. We'll talk with him, get some feedback from him. And then also Brown University men's basketball coach Mike Martin breaking down the 4 teams, the Final Four of the NCAA tournament. We will try to get to some of your chat, comments, questions, and opinions. And we appreciate you every day. And this is 365 Sports. Tell you what I appreciate. Ideal MRI, Dr. Of course, Rob Maxey and his staff are amazing because 2 things they do that you need if you have pain. If you have something in your lower back, your shoulder, your knee, something where your doctor, orthopedic surgeon, whoever it is, wants a better look at what it could be, whether it's a muscle, a ligament, or something else that will confirm the pain or maybe confirm there's nothing there. Ideal MRI is state-of-the-art technology MRI machine. They will find what your doctor wants you to find or needs to know more about. Dr. Rob Maxey, the specs and techs and specialist there, the other doctors involved and partners involved, from the time you set up an appointment to the time you walk out the door, you will be absolutely thrilled with the experience, and even so, how less it is compared to what the average MRI is at $1,100. $497 or less every single time. And they will find out what is hurting you, and you'll be good, both with your budget and also knowledge of what hurts at idealmri.com.
During Ram Truck Month, shop the greatest selection of new inventory in Central Texas at Allen Samuels. Ram trucks have all the quality for work or play, with impressive towing capabilities, heavy-duty payload capacity, smooth ride, and a luxury feel interior design. If you're looking for a truck that can do it all, come see the possibilities of a Ram truck. And if we don't have exactly what you want in stock, we can help you build the custom car, truck, SUV, or van of your dreams. Shop Allen Samuels, DCJ.com, or come in to see us today at Allen Samuels in Waco.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Chuck Verno, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Chuck Verno, 720 North 64th Street in Waco, 254-732-1161. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive is premier, elite, life-changing experience where you can change your mind, body, and soul. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. If you haven't been there in quite some time, you're missing out on the improvements for our members. New flooring in the weight room and locker rooms, new paint and mirrors added in the weight room and group exercise room, with more new machines arriving over the next few months. New free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, new elliptical machines on spacious weight room floor. Personal training with Christy London, Randall Corley, and Alex Botch, where you will be encouraged and motivated to grow. There's sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed, and kids club. The amenities are great. 16 tennis courts plus an 1,100-seat stadium court, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Visit our website, wacotennis.com, or visit Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Baylor Pro Day today was at Midway High School in their indoor facility, which is spectacular. Baylor have all that construction going on at the Allison Indoor. They're extending that out longer. And then, of course, so much construction in that area near where they will have the football operations building. So they were at Midway, and a couple of friendly faces from Baylor past. Charlie Brewer, R.J. Sneed were there, along with a lot of other players that were there at the Pro Day. And we have R.J. Sneed, who last year played at Colorado with us on 365 Sports. What was it like to kind of just get back to where you spent most of your college career?
No, it was great, especially to get back and running routes with dudes that I grew up with pretty much in college. So it was a great feeling to be back.
What was the process? Did you reach out to Baylor? How did that work?
Yeah, so my mom reached out to Coach Aranda, actually, so that's how that happened. And I was just glad that he was, more than grateful that he allowed me to come back and do it.
So, RJ, when you got to catch passes from Charlie again, do you get feelings of nostalgia, and then you're essentially on a job interview? You got to have a lot of emotions going through your head in a day like today.
Yeah, no, it was great. Especially catching passes from Charlie, because that was my roommate all throughout college. So it was a good feeling to get back with him, and it just seemed like old times. Especially I know it wasn't at the indoor, but it felt great to just be back in Waco.
RJ, what did your year in Boulder teach you? What was that experience like? I mean, obviously you played most of your career here, but to go that transfer route, how did that unfold, and how did you, feel like that all went for you?
It's never a good idea when you go 1-11, but it was a great just learning experience, and I built relationships there that I think that'll last longer than football will, and especially with the coaches, because once I'm done playing, I want to be a coach. So I feel like I learned a lot, more of the ins and outs than anything.
This segment, R.J. Sneed, former Baylor wide receiver, brought to you by Richard Car Motors, Buick GMC Cadillac, people you can count on. R.J., have you or did you have any kind of communication with Dion and the new staff, or is that just kind of like they're in and everyone else is out?
Yeah, no, so, once he got hired, I wasn't even in Colorado no more. So
Okay.
It was kind of like more of like they're in and I'm out. But from the guys I talked to, though, they're enjoying it, liking it, and believe that it's going in the right direction.
So, do you learn in a season like that you mentioned about Colorado, do you maybe learn more about life than you do about football?
Yeah, more about life where, you can't control a lot of things. You just got to take what it gives you and keep going. You can't quit, you can't stop, but I just learned that, you can't give up regardless of what's going on.
So when you were out there today, what was the focus for you? What were you working on or hoping to show most of your game? And just what's your thought process in terms of this whole, process of trying to go to the pros and make a name for yourself?
Just everything you see on film that, I can catch the ball, I got sport quickness, I can just do whatever you're asking me to do. So that's all I was trying to show. The film has already done the job for itself, so I was going out there to have fun, really. I didn't want to overthink it, put too much into it. I just wanted to have fun with it and not stress myself out.
We have a snapshot on screen of the one of the one-handed catches you made ridiculously. On your film, do you put those in the front?
Oh, you have to keep them enjoying and watching it. It's a good starter. I'll split it out there in the front, so of course I do.
RJ, how much, and I know what you did, you made a decision to go to Colorado, but once you're there, is there anything that you kind of feel like you wish you would have been a part of Baylor? Because they surely could have used you at wide receiver last year.
Listen, you make decisions in life, and you got to live with it. Sometimes you might have regrets, but once I got there, I just decided to live my decision. But I was always keeping up with Baylor, and I thought that I think Gavin did a good job of stepping up this past year. And I felt like Monterey and all the young guys are going to come along. But, I just learned to live my decision and just keep going, though.
R.J. Sneed, former Colorado and Baylor wide receiver, a part of the Baylor Pro Day today on the campus of Midway High School.
RJ, when you look back at your career at Baylor, obviously ended with a big exclamation point, Big 12 championship, Sugar Bowl. Can you just take us, because I don't know that we really had an opportunity, and I know it's been a while now, but can you just kind of take us back to that time period and also just reflecting, now that you've had some time away, what is it like to look back on your time in Waco and the career that you carved out?
I think my time in Waco was great because, especially the first 2 years, I didn't play at all. I got in here and there, and I learned a very important thing that, patience is key because, I had great receivers in front of me that got drafted, which was Denzel and Jalen Hurd. And then when I started playing in 2019, it still wasn't me fully playing, but I was just grateful for the opportunity. And especially after 2019, 2020, 2021, it was me and Taekwon, so it was just grateful. And then, like you said, it was a great way to end it, winning the Big 12 championship and the Sugar Bowl. Because we've been there in 2019, but we never won either or. So it was just a great way to cap off the career here.
RJ, what have they told you as far as anybody that's connected, scouts, agent? What are your expectations of the next month?
Actually, I'm supposed to talk to my agent later on today after she gets everything she needs to get. But pretty much do what you need to do, and we're just going to let the film speak for itself. And she told me all you need is one team. So that's all I'm just looking forward to, just finding one team that wants me and just go from there.
RJ, are you somebody that if it's, there's obviously a lot of leagues out there, NFL life is tough, it's not a guarantee for anybody. Are you somebody that wants to keep playing football no matter what? Like if you don't get that crack in the pros, is the XFL something you're interested in, the USFL? Where do you kind of view all that?
No, I think whenever the door closes, whether it's tomorrow or 10 years from now, I want to be a coach. So
okay.
I don't want to put too much into wasting years and trying to go to the league. I'm a firm believer if it's supposed to happen, it will happen. If it doesn't, then I'll just be happy with how I ended my career.
So your mom reached out to Coach Aranda. He said, sure, which says quite a bit. And I would think there have been other former players that have come back and done pro days as well. What is your relationship with Dave Aranda? Your thoughts about when you told him you were leaving, and yet he still says, hey, come on back, let's help you out.
It's good. good, actually, because even while I was gone, he texted me on Monday, and he found out I had surgery. He texted me about that. So it was good. And actually, I saw him Friday night. I went to eat at Diamondback. He came and sat next to me, and we spoke real quick. Our relationship is good. It's always going to be good. And I told him I appreciate him regardless of everything that went on.
You mentioned Coach Aranda and Charlie as well. Was there anybody else that you ran into today or the last few days that you maybe hadn't seen in a while, or somebody that you keep up with?
Oh, yeah, I saw Coach Bell. He's on the field today. We talked for a little bit. I saw most of the coaches out that was there. I met the new receiver coach, Coach Baker. I felt like he's a great guy and good dude for the room. So, yeah, I saw most of the coaches and everybody that came out to support. So it was pretty good. RJ,
what was, if you can pinpoint, your favorite moment when you were at Baylor?
I mean, of course, how you winning the Big 12 championship and watching Darren McVay, without the guy on the, I guess, the edge power line.
That's an easy one to pick, yeah?
Yeah, that was my favorite moment, just because, we've been there before, and we lost, so I was just more glad that we won. So that's probably my favorite moment.
Where were you when that unfolded? Can you kind of take us through because we've had various guys, and it's always fun to get one guy's on the sideline and he's got this angle. How did that unfold from your vantage point?
So in my head, I was on the opposite side, and I was actually standing right next to Coach Randall's family. And as soon as he got a stop, we all just ran on the field, forgetting that we still got to go get a few snaps in. So we all ran on the field, and it was just crazy. It was chaos. I think that's the best way to describe it. It was just chaos. Once Darren McVay got the stop, we didn't know how to act. Yeah, you had to take a snap, right? I mean, you had to take a snap and make sure you didn't screw it up.
RJ, knowing where you came from, Matt Rule, and all of that, I do want to ask you about him now being in Nebraska, but, I mean, knowing where you guys started in 1-11 and then 7-6 and, not being able to get that win over Oklahoma or Georgia, and, I mean, how much did that teach you about life? Just the trials and tribulations, the ups and downs, experiencing a little bit of everything, good, bad, and otherwise, during your time, changes on the staff. I mean, how much did that whole sequence help mold you into the young man you are nowadays?
It taught me a lot. I give Coach Rule a lot of credit because he changed my ways as soon as I got to college, and he made me grow up real fast. He's the same way as everybody. He's gonna shoot you straight. He's gonna let you know how he's feeling, what he's thinking. And I think that's what I like the most about him, though. I never had to ask him what he was thinking because I already knew, and it kind of helped me grow up. I remember I first got there and I was having problems, not major problems, but young guy stuff, maybe being late here or there, and he just told me one time you need to get your stuff together in a nice way I can say it, but I think I'm thankful for him though because he had me grow up and he gave me the what's next mentality that he's been preaching. Whether it's good or bad, you got to move on to the next thing in life.
RJ, we appreciate your time. I know your mom and dad are proud, but your mom is obviously, and a lot of mothers are, most of them are, your biggest cheerleader, Dr. Sneed. When I mention her, what do you think?
About my mom?
Yes.
That's my world. She does everything for me. I can't thank her enough. My dad, too. I can't thank them enough for what they've done for me throughout this process, put me in football at the age of 5 till now. And I just thank for them both.
RJ, good luck moving forward over the next few weeks as the draft approaches, whatever that brings to the table, wherever you end up, mini camp, and eventually, hopefully, throughout the summer and into the league. Thanks for your time. It's great to see you today.
Thank you so much. Good talking to you guys.
Yes, sir. RJ Sneed, Colorado receiver last year, but was a part of those ups and downs in the roller coaster of 1-11 to what they did to play for a Big 12 title, and then, of course, win the Big 12 as well, and the bowl game, the Sugar Bowl against Ole Miss his last year at Baylor. When we come back, Mike Martin joined us last week. Remember, he was the one that gave us a breakdown on Princeton, but really the tournament. The head coach at Brown University on the Final Four is next.
Richard Carr has dozens of Sierra trucks on the lot right now. Qualified buyers can save thousands on new 2023 GMC Sierra SLT 1500s. And that is if you are in the market for a new vehicle. If you're looking maybe not at trucks but at SUVs, well, They've got the new 2023 Buick Envisions as well. Qualified buyers can get special lease payments with $5,000 down cash or trade at $269 per month or save thousands on a purchase. I know that's throwing a lot of numbers at you, so you can always call or go by the dealership to talk to the good folks there like Donnie, and they will help you square away all of the different prices and discounts and deals to get you into that new car, truck, or SUV that will keep you happy and safe on the road. So you got the Envisions, you got the Sierras as far as the new models go, but how about the quality pre-owned cars and trucks? Many of those under $20,000 as well, affordable, thoroughly inspected, ready to finance for almost any credit rating. There are plenty of vehicles on the pre-owned side of things ready to drive today as well. And if you're just looking to drive your car or truck a little while longer, then look no further. Their award-winning service department that will keep you on the road. Go to richardcar.com to see their service specials and set an appointment for quick and reliable repair. In business for 23 years in Central Texas, they've built a reputation as the people you can count on for your automotive needs. Run by proud Central Texans. Log on to richardcar.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
Cars priced right both day and night at Richard Car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue at Richard Car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room at Richard Car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust at Richard Car in Waco, Texas.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your hometown grocery store with a full-service butcher shop and bakery. Hi, this is David Smoak. The butcher shop can take your customized orders for seafood, pork, and poultry and custom cut your favorite steaks from bacon-wrapped fillets to T-bone to bone-in ribeyes. Cut specifically the way you want. They have Norwegian salmon fillets, catfish fillets, sliced ham or turkey and lunch meat, variety of cheese available, and several options of sausage links, fresh chicken breast or whole chickens, sliced bacon, pork chops, ground beef, marinated beef, and chicken fajitas, and always large briskets available, plus fresh vegetables. So the great product, customer service, and family tradition of the Bauer family continues at Waco Custom Marketplace, open Monday through Saturday. A full-service butcher shop and bakery available. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneerboys.com.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
This is 365 Sports. Text us at 254-339-1122. The text line is sponsored by Riverbend's Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Brown University men's basketball coach Mike Martin joined us last week. He was nudged our way by John Gallagher, former Hartford coach, and Mike Martin joins us as now the Final Four is set. Mike, did you ever think you would see a Final Four with a 4 seed, 2 5 seeds, and a 9 seed?
David, thanks for having me on. Isn't it wacky? I mean, I don't. If anyone had this, then I want to go spend some time with that person. If anyone predicted this Final Four, it's crazy.
So for a team like Florida Atlantic in particular, is this the transfer portal? Like, how did they get this good so quickly?
Well, I think it's a combination of a couple. They have been aided by the transfer portal. Jalen Gaffney and his staff have just done a great job evaluating and building a program. I mean, they've got a culture. They've gone a lot of different places. They've gone to the Midwest. They've gone international. They've gone to the transfer portal, and you see a team out there that plays like they know who they are. They know what their strengths are, and I don't think this is a fluke. I think they're really good.
Mike, what did that K-State game show you in terms of the Owls? Just kind of what did you take away from how that unfolded? And obviously, on the one side, the jubilation of FAU, but on the other side, a magical year for Jerome Tang in year number 1 coming to a close. Just your thoughts on the Wildcats' exit and how the Owls made that happen.
Well, I'll tell you, I fell in love with Marquise Noel and all the guys at Kansas State. You know, I didn't really get a chance to see him that much during the regular season, maybe a couple minutes here and there. I saw the end of their big win over Kansas on, I think that was a TV game during the year. But, you know, Jerome and his staff deserve so much credit, and it was heartbreaking to see those guys. I wanted them to keep playing because they're so fun to watch. I actually, you know, obviously Noel, everyone knows he's from New York City, and could you put together 2 better games than he put in Madison Square Garden coming home? And you know, it's a shame the Big 12 doesn't have any representatives in the Final Four because it was far and away the best conference in the country throughout the year, and I say that as a guy who grew up, you know, with the Big East. But you know, it's just it's just further proof this tournament. You know, anyone who tries to judge how good or how strong a conference is based on NCAA tournament performance, I think it's crazy because it's such a crapshoot. The Big 12 was so clearly the best conference, and it's too bad they don't have anyone in this tournament this weekend.
Miami was in trouble. Texas would not miss shots, and, of course, they were dominating the game. Miami was shooting like 64% at halftime, but UT was hitting threes and dictating the game. What did they do, in your opinion, that changed everything?
Really simple, guys. Jim Larinaga, I think, you know, obviously one of the better coaches out there. And I said this on a Providence radio spot last week because he's a former Providence College player. So they naturally wanted to talk, you know, the Hurricanes and Coach L. His simplicity. I mean, they ran that little horns ball screen, rescreen play for Wong time after time after time in the second half, and you know, it gave Texas all kinds of issues. And you know, Wong is so good; he's such a tough shot maker, and you know, their guards, they have so many dynamic guards, and Coach Larinaga just puts them in great positions by really giving them space and giving them freedom and confidence to go be who they are.
With Miami, they've done really well through the portal, but what is it about the style that they play that allows them to just they don't get burned out and they play fast? What is it about the style they play and the way that he set them up that doesn't allow them to really have those slumps?
Well, they do have, I mean, they have 5 guards that are all really good. You talk about Pack and Wong, who are the headliners, but then Poplar and Bensley Joseph, who's a Massachusetts kid. You know, we're very familiar with him coming off the bench, and then also Harlan Beverly. they've got so many different guards, so many different playmakers. They can almost take turns, and Coach Larinaga is so good at, again, putting them in position to, they know, all right, now it's my time to carry the load. And then I do think Miller and Omier inside, while they're not very big, they rebound, they defend, and I just think they got a really good. Again, another team that really knows who they are and clearly loves playing together, guys.
Reports are out there that Rodney Terry is going to be the next head coach officially at the University of Texas. Obviously took over a tough situation, and then the season ends a little bit earlier than they wanted. But that any surprise to you? And just what do you think about the decision to go ahead and move forward after the job he did this year?
No surprise. Job well done by the folks at UT, and obviously incredible job by Coach Terry and his staff being put in the position they were in. And too bad, again, that they're not able to play this weekend in Houston. Obviously, it looked like they were going to be in a great spot midway through that second half. But, yeah, just so much credit deserved for those guys. And I'm glad that they didn't waste any time in making that official announcement. Well, I shouldn't say an announcement, but the reports are from pretty reputable sources that it's done.
Yeah, a 5-year deal, $3 million or so a year. He earned it. He didn't deserve it. I always use that word. He earned it. He deserved it too. All right, so UConn is hammering people. I mean, they're making it look easy. They have been here before, a little bit of a longer stretch. They look like they are, without question, head and shoulders over everybody this weekend, although all these other guys have found a way to survive. Your thoughts about UConn?
Yeah, I mean, they're playing so well, and obviously love to see it, given that I'm a Northeast guy, and they, certainly are carrying the Big East flag quite well. I think their size is going to be really hard for Miami to deal with. As good as Miami is, as great as their guards are, Sanogo and Klingon, in addition to, the long athletic wings that UConn has, I think their size is going to be a lot for Miami. I do think UConn's the favorite, clearly on paper, from what I can see right now with the 4 teams left, and really happy for those guys, and think that they'll hopefully have a chance to finish the job.
We have a handful of Texas fans who are on our chat. They're great guys that do love UT. What was your thought about the Brock Cunningham blocking out foul that they changed initially over the back to a block out? What is that as a coach who understands the game?
You're trying to get me in trouble. I'm flying to Houston this week. I'm going to have all the Big 12 people and the Texas people coming after me. That was a hard way. It was such a pivotal call, too. It's a hard one to swallow if you're a UT fan. Initially, I thought it was clearly over the back. The more I watched it, I thought they got it right.
No, that's fine. I mean, that's why we have you on, with your knowledge of what you do and what you see. You understand the game.
And here's why. I thought Omier, was in a position where he was ready to make a play on the rebound. He jumped straight up and down. And Cunningham, we recruited Brock Cunningham coming out of high school, and he was a really good student, really strong student, and we had a few great phone calls with him and his family. Ultimately, obviously, he made a great decision, but I just thought he kept backing up, and he came into Omier's space. Omier has the right to jump straight up, and I thought he did that, and unfortunately, the call went the wrong way for a UT fan.
Coach, I guess the only team we haven't asked you about, San Diego State. Great win over Creighton and a thriller. Your thoughts on that game, and now what they have ahead as far as FAU? Just how did the Aztecs get here in your mind?
Grown men. They are a team of grown men. Brian Dutcher has done an amazing job. You look at their team; they play 9 guys consistently. They've got a great rotation both on the perimeter and up front. I was looking at it this morning because they said it on the broadcast yesterday. 7 seniors of their 9, and of those 7 seniors, 4 are fifth-year seniors. So this is an old team. It's a mature team. It's a team that's really hard to score against. Tim Miles, one of my best, closest friends in coaching, he's the head coach at San Jose State, and he's done an amazing job there. He was at Nebraska. He was at Colorado State. and he's turned that San Jose State team around quickly. We were talking this morning about just how hard it is to score against San Diego State because they're strong, they're fast, and it's really hard to get any kind of angles on them when you have the ball offensively. He said you better make threes against them or you probably don't have much of a chance. And if they start making threes, then, you're probably just in for a long night. So really fun to watch San Diego State. And we played them actually in 2018, 2019. 3 of those fifth-year seniors that are on this team now were freshmen on that team back then when we went out there. And Brian and his staff deserve so much credit for the job they've done.
Do you think we're on the other side of that extra year making as much of a difference as it has seemingly made with these super veteran-laden rosters? Like, obviously, we covered Baylor a couple years back. They had a very veteran-laden roster. Texas was very veteran-laden. San Diego State, so on and so forth. Is that COVID year having more of an effect on that, or is this just kind of the direction because of the transfer portal and things like that college basketball is going?
Well, it's gonna come to an end in a couple of years, right? This COVID year that everyone has had, the class that are rising juniors who are current sophomores in their second year, they're not going to have that COVID year unless something drastic changes. They're not going to have it, So it will come to an end soon. But I think you're seeing a lot of smart teams who have been able to really utilize that and play to their benefit. I mean, we talked about Jerome Tang and his team earlier. That Kansas State team had all kinds of experience, and they had all kinds of maturity as well. And I think that was really smart, really intuitive by Jerome and his staff, and helped them this year have the year they had. I think he should be, if he's not a shoo-in, he should be one of the leaders for National Coach of the Year, given what he's done. So I do think you're seeing it. We talked about San Diego State. We talked about Miami in the transfer portal, Florida Atlantic and their experience. So I do think that we're seeing the teams that have really used the extra COVID year smartly. It's paying off for them.
Hey, Mike, we appreciate you coming on with us this afternoon. It's been great to have you on. Hope that next year when we get you on, it's because you're in the tournament, and that will make it even more special coming out of the Ivy League. Thanks for your time. Enjoy Houston. I will not share your identification with anybody that's a Texas fan.
I won't have any Brown basketball gear on in Houston this week. That's for sure, because then I'm in trouble. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, Mike Martin, head coach at Brown University. It's been great to get his feedback. John Gallagher will join us at some point this week. Can't wait for that. By the way, Jim Williams, sports media, part of a network before and now a consultant writing for Forbes, is going to join us today at 5. He wrote an article on Jim Nantz calling his last Final Four for the NCAA tournament. And tomorrow, Bob Thompson drops back in with us. There's been a few things, although pretty much the same story when it comes to waiting on what may or may not happen with the Pac-12, but a few things have changed a little bit to get his perspective tomorrow, too.
Okay, let me ask you this, Smokey, and I know the answer. If you were Jim Nantz and CBS comes to you and you kind of said, like, look, I'm doing a lot of NFL. I really love doing the tournament. And I love my life. There's nothing like Jim Nantz probably has very little complaints about how things go about him in his professional life. But they said, look, eventually we're going to have to, we need you to focus on this and that. Would you say, look, you can take away the NCAA tournament, but you will pry the Masters for the microphone out of me in my cold, dead hands?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That to me, his voice, his voice is of many things. He has the best overall job of anybody in broadcasting. And I know that there's others out there that do a lot, but he has the tournament, he has the NFL, and he has the Masters.
Yeah, I think, is Ian Eagle getting the I think it's Ian Eagle.
Yeah.
I would vote. I mean, I'm fine with Ian Eagle. I would vote. My favorite is Kevin Harlan for everything.
Yeah.
But,
did you hear he was embarrassed by the reaction? Was that him? Who was it that did this when the shot
was
down?
him.
Yeah, he said he was kind of a little bit embarrassed by his reaction. But we've all been there. That's a natural reaction. He did not favor one team or another. It was the moment, the emotion. And then the part when he did this for everyone to be quiet so the crowd noise could come through, that's why he's a pro. We've had Kevin on. He's great. He's a great guest. All right, when we come back the 4 o'clock hour, at 4:20, we're going to hear Gary Zeigler cover San Diego State. We'll get into the Aztecs' run to the Final Four in that great story. This is 365 Sports.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street. Look, I went to a crawfish boil this weekend where I'll just throw in a plug for another one. Guess where they got their crawfish? Waco Custom Marketplace. But I need to get some craft beer. Of course, Riverbend Liquor and Wine is where you go to get craft beer. Unbelievable selection of craft beer and everything they have. They rotate things through at springtime. Also going into summertime, so some shandies are out now, which I truly enjoy. They've got a lot of great stuff there, craft beer-wise. Also, a lot of stuff when it comes to local Texas bourbons. Second to none, and the selection of local craft Texas bourbons. Great customer service, speedy drive-through window, and available on DoorDash, too. So if you are, say, at a crawfish boil and you aren't maybe in condition to go make that second beer run, well, give them a call look up DoorDash, go into Riverbend Liquor and Wine, boom, got it delivered right to you there at your crawfish boil, and the festivities can continue, and no one had to leave. That's what's great about Riverbend Liquor and Wine. They can pretty much get to you however you need them to get it to you, and they're great when it comes to suggestions and everything else. Or just go by the store, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street, behind the bank.
Cars priced right, both day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your hometown grocery store with a full-service butcher shop and bakery. Hi, this is David Smoak. The butcher shop can take your customized orders for seafood, pork, and poultry, and custom cut your favorite steaks from bacon-wrapped fillets to T-bone to bone-in ribeyes, cut specifically the way you want. They have Norwegian salmon fillets, catfish fillets, sliced ham or turkey and lunch meat, variety of cheese available, and several options of sausage links, fresh chicken breast or whole chickens, sliced bacon, pork chops, ground beef, marinated beef, and chicken fajitas, and always large briskets available, plus fresh vegetables. So the great product, customer service, and family tradition of the Bauer family continues at Waco Custom Marketplace, open Monday through Saturday. A full-service butcher shop and bakery available. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
This is 365 Sports, powered by SicEm365.com.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
A couple of notes that TJ on the chat room, and somebody did respond to him, but we take things sometimes for granted, like Baylor's Pro Day. Okay, what is that? That is when a school, a program, hosts NFL scouts or representatives, and we've even seen owners and head coaches, among others, come to a campus, for example, Baylor off campus because of the construction, and they are measured. Everything, all the hand height. They do the cone drill. They do the 40. They do a lot of. Then they do position drills. And then there's also a little bit more of that as well. And so that's what a pro day is. I'll never forget the year that RG3 was a junior, a redshirt junior, and he had his pro day. Paul, you were in Ohio, but the NFL Network broadcast his pro day from inside the Allison Indoor Facility. Ron Jaworski was cutting in live. Sal Palantonio was there live. Dan Snyder was there, who's about to be no longer the Redskins owner, among others. Shanahan was there to watch RG3 in his pro day performance on campus at Baylor.
Yeah, but by the way, if you ever wondered who was the boss at our time when we were at the radio station, Smokey got to go to a pro day where his favorite NFL team was sprinkled all over it, and I got to go spend 4 days in Bowling Green, Ohio with Kim Mulkey.
You know who used to be at Bowling Green? Jim Larinaga.
Yeah, well,
it launched his career.
He very wisely moved on. That was
Steve is angry with you for talking about Bowling Green.
I'll just tell you right now, Bowling Green, Ohio is one of the worst places I've ever been in my life.
Oh my God!
Honestly, I would drive my car into a tree. It was so bad.
I got a contact going out of control here. Can you go on another shot of Craig and Paul for a second, please?
Yeah, no, it was rough. It was one of the places like, what do you do here? And they're like, Toledo's not far away. I was like, oh, wow, Toledo. Thanks.
Wow. Oh, man, this is what happens.
Yeah, I don't have anything to contribute to that.
Yeah,
I've never been to Bowling Green nor been to Ohio. So,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not the peanut gallery over here. But, Kim Mulkey, congrats to her and getting back to the Final Four with LSU. No, that's weird for Baylor fans to have to see occur, but what a nice job she's done in Baton Rouge in a couple of years. So yeah, little did you know when you were following her back then that years later we'd be sitting here and that she'd be at LSU and taking another team to the Final Four. But that was that pro day question. It's basically just another workout. I mean, it's another opportunity in front of pro scouts or whether that's NFL guys or that's various other leagues that are in attendance nowadays with the XFL, USFL, the AFL. Everybody who's had a league over the last few years typically shows up to these things. So sounds like they had a good turnout. But, yeah, you think of like a C.J. Stroud at Ohio State, and there might be all 32 teams and then like 4 or 5 people from a bunch of those teams. It just kind of depends on who you've got as far as your players that are on display. And the more first-round types and bigger stars, then the bigger the crowds typically. But, yeah, it's a private workout for all the scouts and affords the school the opportunity to just kind of have a day and show their wares off and show their players off and also give the current players, for example, typically when they're on campus at Baylor, you see a bunch of the current players who maybe have that period off that all show up and watch their guys just to get a little taste of what it's like. So that's typically what pro days are just a more extensive workout or, for example, if you were at the combine and you didn't do everything, you were healing a knee injury, so you only did like bench press or, a couple of things like that. You got measured. Well, maybe this is the time then you go and you're healed up a little bit. You do your 3-cone drill and you run your 40, like whatever you didn't do at the combine. And then for those guys who didn't have a combine, well, this is their big day. This is their only shot really to show off in front of scouts. So it's a lot of different things, but a lot of it too is just kind of, I think, sealing the deal for teams who already kind of know what they're going to do and who's probably the top prospects.
Yeah, and next year the Big 12 will be doing it all together at the Star in Frisco, which is where the Cowboys practice facility is in their home base, which will be an amazing thing to see and way cooler than most pro days because it's hard. I mean, they just kind of wedge you all into one area. You can't really watch anything, or if you do, like, it's hard. But this will be great, what they're doing next year there, and it'll allow everybody from all of the conference to be in one spot, and just another Big 12 event. So I'm very much looking forward to that one.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how that goes. I'm curious, does everybody want to do it that way? I mean, I guess given that Texas and Oklahoma are going to leave you with a few less prospects each year, I guess, it leaves lesser guys, and, it just makes it more accessible for everybody, just easier for everybody to all be in one place at one time. But, yeah, I'm curious how that goes, because I could see where a guy doesn't want to work out in Arlington. He wants to work out in Manhattan, Kansas. He feels more comfortable there. So what do they do about that? Does they set up a private workout? I don't know. But, I mean, yeah, the Big 12 idea on the surface is unique, and it's cool. And, I mean, I just don't know what you do, though, when you have a big class where maybe there's like 10 guys and more that are draftable type players. And you can have 50 guys out there for 5 hours going through. Like, that's the part of it I don't quite understand. But your mark and those guys will figure that out, and it's an interesting marketing opportunity.
Hi.
Good. Are you okay? You live? Can you see?
A contact, because my right eye looks like it's on fire. I had a contact snap on me in the middle of the show. That was fun. Yeah, Craig, I agree with you on that. That's going to be interesting. How many different position drills, if you have 14 or 12 teams and you have 17 wide receivers or 32 offensive linemen, how are you going to do that? But I'm sure they'll work it out. Just be more people there to run those drills. Some guys are just like specific, good, really good at that, that run the pro days. Like guys who have been doing it all around the country who run the pro day. When we come back, Mark Zeigler, he was the San Diego Union Tribune on San Diego State's run. Later in the show, in fact, probably in about 4:45, Charles Barkley was featured on 60 Minutes in a couple of quotes that he had about college athletics, that and more. And this is 365 Sports. PettyClinicLowT.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man you need to be, want to be, and used to be. Your testosterone level can drop as you get older. This is for men. 1 out of every 3 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone, and maybe that is you. Sleep habits, energy, gaining weight. You just don't feel right, and your sex drive is affected too. Dr. Kent Petty can help you out by you contacting him, PettyClinicLowT.com, email, phone number. They set you up to get your blood work. He gets the results, and if your testosterone level is too low, he can put you in a program to increase your testosterone levels so you can become the high-performance man you want to be, need to be, used to be at PettyClinicLowT.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Nantz Group Insurance Agency. With the Nantz Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Nantz Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Nantz Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year. Whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, locally owned pizza place that's out of this world. Everything from the dough, the sauce, the sausage topping is made fresh in-house. Not to mention the amazing pizza pillows, the chicken wings are to die for. Try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries or tots, plus great specials on food and drink every single day. Shorty's is also the perfect spot to watch the game with your friends. Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
This is 365 Sports. Are you a Sikkim 365 superfan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
So many great storylines in the Final Four, and really from the beginning of the NCAA tournament, it's also hard to imagine it's almost over. We have discussed the stories, San Diego State, obviously Florida Atlantic, with what we have as well in the Final Four with what UConn's done, and then Miami with their comeback yesterday. Mark Zeigler, San Diego Union Tribune, covers San Diego State. Everything San Diego, joins us on 365 Sports. Mark, can you kind of explain this run that San Diego State is on, and how much has it caught the attention of the city of San Diego?
Oh yeah. I mean, they got back last night, and there were people waiting for them on campus at 1 a.m.
That's awesome.
Which normally doesn't happen in this city. I want to tell you. I mean, I'm looking out, my view over the bay and towards the ocean right now, and it's 70 degrees and not a cloud in the sky, and there's a lot to do here. But what's amazing to me is I've been here for years and years, and it was not a basketball town. High school basketball was bad. College basketball was terrible. And Steve Fisher and Brian Dutcher have transformed it into a basketball town. I mean, it is bigger than hard as this to believe. I'm talking to somebody in Texas, but the basketball here is bigger than football. And it has been for a number of years, and they just sort of been waiting for this moment.
And they've done it, Mark, without, they don't have a lot of guys who are prolific, right? Like they don't have a standout superstar. I know Matt Bradley's their leading scorer, but this is just a ridiculously balanced team that knows how to ride the hot hand and maneuver through games.
Yeah, I mean, they're not everybody's prolific, and they're not everybody's who's a pro either. I mean, they have some guys who play pro in Europe, but they don't have any NBA players in this team. I really don't think so. Maybe a guy surprises us, but I doubt it. And the bench goes 9 deep, and the bench also is all juniors and seniors and fifth-year seniors and one sixth-year senior. And one thing about this team that people talk about, they had a really good team in 2019, 2020. Malachi Flynn, Yanni Wetzel, KJ Fagan, really good. Matt Mitchell, Jordan Shackel has been in the NBA a little bit. Some really good players on that team. They would have been a 2 seed probably, and a lot of people thought they were a Final Four type team. They never got to play because the tournament was canceled, and there's been a lot of talk about let's do it for those guys, and it's too bad, opportunity lost. But in a weird way, that the pandemic kind of fueled this team because you got 4 guys who are in their COVID years. and stuck around in the program to play one more year. And that kind of experience and bigger body, real men type thing has really been the difference for them.
So getting here is uncharted territory, and it's been a wild ride. But take us into this latest leg. I mean, it's hard because you beat the number one team overall, and then you got to turn around and play 2 days later. But kind of now having a chance to breathe a little bit. Take us through these last couple of games. I mean, getting that huge win over the number one Crimson Tide and doing so, not with ease, but doing so convincingly, and then to turn around and win a nail-biter against Creighton. Just what were the last what was this past weekend like?
Well, you have to go back to the previous weekend when they were in Orlando in their first game. They played Charleston, and they hadn't won NCAA tournament games since 2015. Obviously, it didn't go in 2020, but everyone sort of forgets that. And fans started to whisper, well, let's see, Brian Dutcher's been here, he'd been here 5 years before this, and he hadn't won a tournament game. Well, okay, he can't win the big one. And the players started to feel that too, because no one on the team had won an NCAA tournament game. And so they were really nervous in that first game, played terrible in the first half, 11 turnovers. And they came out in the second half and kind of grounded out, gritted it out, made a couple big shots late. And then they got in the next game against Furman, and they just were a completely different team, just loose and free and relaxed, having fun. And they carried that into this weekend. They were in Alabama and just sort of said, you know what, we're confident. We're just going to take our best swing, and they landed it. And then they came to Creighton, and there was extra motivation there because last year, as you might remember, in Fort Worth, they played Creighton in the first round. We're up 9 with 2.5 minutes to go in regulation, blew the lead, and it wasn't like Creighton beat them. I mean, they turned it over 4 times. They missed a free throw with 7 seconds left in a tie game by Matt Bradley, lost in overtime. And that haunted them the entire summer and the entire season. They went to Maui, and Creighton was in the field there. They were hoping they were going to get Creighton there. They never got them on the crossover day. And they were just kind of like, well, we're never going to play them again. And all of a sudden, here they are in the NCAA tournament in front of them. They were not losing that game yesterday. They were not going to blow it late, even though they kind of tried there a little bit. But that was a big deal, and that extra piece of motivation, I think that was a factor.
When did their hearts come out of their throats? I mean, to win a game, especially the way they did on a foul late, and then, that long pass at the end, I would think that, it took a second for you to, really come down and go, man, we're in the Final Four. It really did.
I mean, I'm sitting there. I've covered this team for 10 years. I was kind of numb. I'm like, holy crap, these guys are going to the Final Four. I mean, I saw grown men in the stands crying. And you have to understand how bad this program was 25 years ago. I mean, they won 4 games one year. Steve Fisher came in and he won 5 games his first year. They lost 17 straight conference games. Like I said, they hadn't been ranked, since the first time they were ever ranked was 2010. First time they ever won NCAA tournament game was 2011. And this thing went from nothing. They used to play in just a glorified high school gym on campus in front of a few hundred people. And Steve Fisher came in and slowly turned it around. They went to the tournament, and there was a few more years they were down, and they went to the tournament again. And then he finally struck it rich with Kawhi Leonard and that team. That probably was the best team in the country, lost to UConn in the Sweet 16, and UConn ended up winning it in 2011. But yeah, I mean, this has been a long time coming, and I think people were a cross between numb and just so elated and so happy they just broke down crying, and the players too. I mean, it was really an incredible thing to see.
And just like everybody predicted, Mark, they're playing Florida Atlantic in the Final Four, right?
Yeah, who that in their bracket?
Yeah. Golly. What is it like, though, you talk about the excitement level, but there's very clearly another story going on with San Diego State right now, and that is the backdrop of the Pac-12 and the potential of realignment. We know that they're being looked at by the Pac-12 or even talking. We know the Big 12's at least sniffed around a little bit in years past, if not recently. Can you kind of take us into that whole part of the San Diego State story, and what's kind of the scuttlebutt? What's the feeling right now, especially in light of you talking about where this program was not that long ago to now? Here they are. They're in the Final Four. They have a legitimate shot to win a national title in a major sport, and there's also this perhaps golden invite that could be headed their way as well.
It's interesting. You look at a lot of the mid-majors that have made it into the Final Four in recent years, teams like George Mason, VCU, Wichita State, Loyola Chicago, Butler, all those teams have ended up in new conferences within a couple of years. It's kind of propelled them in a new conference. I don't know if that's going to be the impetus for San Diego State to get in the Pac-12. I don't think presidents are sitting around saying, "Hey, they beat Furman and they beat Creighton. Let's get them in our league." But it just puts them in a better light on a very high-profile stage. The problem for them is they're just kind of sitting around waiting for stuff to happen. They have no control over it, none. There's nothing they can do. They're just waiting for that phone call. And meanwhile, the Pac-12 keeps going on and on and on without a TV deal. And it's becoming really apparent that there is no TV deal. There is nothing good enough that they can present to presidents that they think will keep the league together. And I think every day that passes, that optimism that, 3 months ago, they're definitely going to the Pac-12, starts to dwindle a little bit. And, there's still some people really optimistic. And I think they might get an invite. I'm just not sure there's going to be a league around for them when they finally get that invite. And a week later, I think, 4 teams could be gone. And so it's kind of people, are really excited about this Final Four run. And in the backdrop, they're really nervous because they know if it doesn't happen now, it's probably never going to happen. And they're going to be stuck in the Mountain West forever. And they've been trying to get out of this league forever. So it's like I said, exciting, but really nervy, really anxious.
Yeah, and you're right, because it's kind of like, okay, you keep waiting for that phone call, and hopefully it happens for them. We remember back when the Big 12 lost, or at least the story that Texas and Oklahoma were leaving, and how they grabbed onto 4 very quickly. And there were also a couple of teams that might have been on the radar, and they didn't make it. At least they haven't made the cut yet, like in Memphis or even Boise State or a San Diego State. And, man, that's just got to be like nerve-wracking and almost like just turmoil inside your stomach during what should be a great run right now with basketball.
Yeah, and there's so much money involved. I mean, you look at even just the Pac-12, if it's $30 million a year. I mean, San Diego State's getting $5 million out of the Mountain West, and that's like triple what they were getting before the last TV contract. And that's real money, and it can really change, the trajectory of your athletic programs. But San Diego State's always wanted to get into the Pac-12, and they're always looked down upon by the LA schools. And now that they're gone, look, they're still going to take an invitation to the Pac-12. It's not going to be the same because they've always wanted to play USC and UCLA. And those schools, they won't play them. UCLA is going to play them this year in football. I'm a little surprised by that. But basketball, they won't, they rarely play them. The last time they played them, San Diego State, they played them in an event that UCLA runs in Anaheim called the Wooden Classic, and brought San Diego State up, and San Diego State fans filled the building and then beat them. And that was kind of the end of that. But, I think they're just kind of waiting around and seeing what happens. But financially, they really need it. They've invested a lot. They have a new football stadium. They invested a lot in the basketball program. They play in a 12,000-seat arena on campus. They have their own practice facility, which is very nice, state-of-the-art. And they want to sort of take that next step. But to do that, they need to be in a power conference with power conference money.
That football stadium's glorious, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nice. And it's the right size, and I think it would be a good fit in a lot of power conference leagues. But again, I don't think San Diego moves the needle in terms of a TV deal. It's a weird market. It's the 8th largest city in the country. It's 3.3 million people in the actual county, but it's still UCLA and USC draw more fans, more eyeballs for TV, at least in football, than San Diego State does. And so it.
No, go ahead.
That's sort of the issue here, is that they don't move the needle enough for a TV network to say, yeah, we got to have them in our conference.
You mentioned earlier, as you were looking out your window across or over the bay, and we hate you for even bringing up that picture.
I apologize for that. Hey, I've actually been away a couple of times, and my godson is a Baylor alum, and a very proud Baylor alum. Wow. So much that he's a PhD student now at TCU, but he won't wear any TCU stuff. He still wears Baylor stuff. So that's how loyal he is to the school and the city.
Yeah, that's not a very good rivalry and not very friendly whatsoever. I hate the fact San Diego lost back in the day when they had Qualcomm or Jack Murphy Stadium. They had some great Super Bowls there. Love the city. We've been there for the bowl game. Baylor played in the Holiday Bowl. Beautiful, beautiful area, man. It is as nice a city, I think, as you could possibly be. And it's gorgeous, and good for you for being able to cover things there.
Yeah, no, it's a great place to live. I love it. And, what you're talking about does take away from the passionate fan base, though, because there's so much to do. I mean, you can go to the beach, you can go for a run, you can be outside. It's hard to sort of generate that really, really passionate thing. But San Diego State basketball is the one, I think, team that's kind of bridged that because they win. The Padres haven't always won. Until they win a World Series, the fans are still going to be a little bit hesitant. They're getting there. But San Diego State always wins. They don't let you down. They win they've won 19 games for something like 17 straight seasons. It's an incredible run they've had, and now this is their fourth 30-win team they've had in the last 12 years. So they've really put it together, and the fans are super passionate about the basketball team.
Good luck this weekend in our state of Texas, in Houston. Thanks for your time, Mark. Great story with San Diego State and the Aztecs. Appreciate the insight.
I appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys soon.
You too, Mark Zeigler. That's some really good stuff. And Craig brought up the fact that, as they await their whatever it might be with the Pac-12, and he was very honest about that. But how about the fact people were there waiting for them at 3 o'clock in the morning when they got back from winning that game in a classic finish to advance to the Final Four for the first time.
That's the first time we've talked to somebody from San Diego State about the Pac-12 goings on as well. And that's the weird position that they're in, right? Is that, they'd love to do it, but they're getting the offer at the worst possible time to get the offer.
What did he say? About the time we get the offer, there might be 4 teams that leave right after that. And that doesn't mean they will. That's kind of where they are. He sounds optimistic, but then again, kind of trepid, I guess, is a word.
Yeah, I think they've got a pretty good shot. I don't know what else the Pac-12 is going to do unless that means that they don't have a TV deal worthwhile enough to add anybody. And then I think that alone would be a story in itself. And there would be, I would think, a small chance that's I don't know. I think it could be in the ballpark of the Big 12 without adding teams. I don't know what adding teams really does to that number. That's the part I keep repeating the last couple weeks that I'm actually the most interested by. Because if they don't add teams, there's reasons why. If they do add teams, there's reasons why. And all of them are very interesting. So, that's a shoe that's got to drop at some point, whether it's adding or not adding. And if you're San Diego State, I know you've waited this long, so you can wait a while longer, but it's not the biggest story. It's the biggest story for the future, but then again, maybe it's even not that either, because you win a basketball title, and that's also pretty big for your future and changes the whole complexion of your school. So, they could have a double whammy of epic proportions on their plate. We don't know, though, if an invite gets extended. We do know that they have a shot to go win a national title in basketball. That's what they do know and what they can control, and that should be the primary focus right now. And if the other thing happens, then that's great too. But, the basketball title, that's paramount, and it's very cool to see them in this position. And, good luck to them, because that's a fun team to watch.
That is a heck of a team to watch. There are 4 teams in the Final Four. UConn, the heavy favorite right now. Miami in their comeback win against Texas, and then San Diego State beating Creighton, and, of course, Florida Atlantic taking out Jerome Tang in Kansas State.
Yeah, earlier we talked kind of scattershot on – and I do wonder about what's the news this week as far as where we are in the whole saga with all that, because it has been relatively quiet, I think, just because nothing's, monumental happening. The reports have kind of died down as well and all of that. But we didn't talk about this much earlier. What did y'all think about K-State and the way they lost that game?
That was a bummer, for them. But, look, Florida Atlantic, they were just tough. And they kept going at them. And, I thought that they would have a great shot there at the end to shoot a 3. And, great defense, because
never got it off.
And Marquise Noel made kind of a bad decision.
I was going to say, I think he made the wrong decision.
Yeah.
You've been launching threes all tournament long, and I understand he was guarded close and all that, but that just felt like very deflating to me, the way that they lost that basketball game, to go toe to toe and then to get to the very end and not even get a clean shot off, like the way that you could have, maybe in 100 different times you run that, and 99 times you get a better shot off than the one that you got, the opportunity that you had there. So, to see Noel give it up, I'm sure that's going to burn him up for a really long time. That's one of those things that every night when he closes his eyes for a while, he's probably going to be thinking about that. So I know he's got the support system around him. I saw Jerome Tang, you could tell in the post game when they were coming off the court, there was a little clip I saw, and he's like, all right, guys, keep your heads up. And I'm just sitting there thinking, like, that's what a coach has to do, but you just know. Like, that's tough, man. I mean, the way they lost that game, the journey they were on, and knowing that they were that close, and, yeah, that was tough to watch.
And when Marquise Noel got the ball there at the end and was darting up the court like a bumblebee, I thought, well, I could see 2 seconds ahead where he was going to be like, he's going to go down there and take the shot, and whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But when he got down there and then threw the ball to Masood, I was like, whoa, that was I did not see that.
Well, I think he thought Masood could get it back to him, so maybe he could get freed up even more. And then Masood, great defense. The ball got down below his knees. He couldn't control it, and game over.
Yeah, just wasn't enough time. If you would have had a timeout, like that's I know what they wish they would have had. It was at a timeout there to sit back and draw something up. But that's just the way that it goes, and lessons learned, I'm sure. But, yeah, they're in the tunnel, and Jerome Tang's clapping and trying to keep them upbeat, and it's just, tough to do, tough to put a smile on your face, or tough to not feel really, heartbroken for those guys, because you could tell that one hurt a lot, and that will hurt a lot for a long time, I'm sure. But what a great year that they had, and obviously a very bright future in Manhattan, Kansas with that program.
And in his postgame, in the NCAA required postgame, he also handled it and mentioned all of his faith and all the things that he'd mentioned before. He said if we're going to preach that and or hit the message he has for just his team as a basketball program, young men learning, we're going to do it when we win and or when we are facing a moment like they did the way that game ended. But what a run. There's always great storylines around the NCAA tournament. This one here, yes, because a lot of what would be considered Cinderella. Florida Atlantic is as highly ranked in the net maybe as most anybody else. Obviously, UConn with their history, although there's been a little bit for them, a slight drought. And then you have the San Diego State and Miami. This has been and that is, like Kansas State would have been a great storyline had they been there. Creighton would have been a great storyline had they been there. And yet there's just so many great, just amazing storylines throughout the tournament. And I have thoroughly enjoyed it. I hate that it's coming to an end this weekend. All right, we will have Jim Williams, Forbes Magazine, and also Zeigler on the story involving Jim Nantz in his final run with CBS Sports in the NCAA tournament with March Madness and more. But more to get to. This is 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. Ted Teague just sent me a note. These are some talking points for you, copy points and notes on the dealership. Large selection of new and used vehicles, over 300 new cars, trucks, and SUVs, 90 pre-owned vehicles available. Interest rates rising. Come by and take advantage of 0% interest for 72 months on select models. They need new, clean, pre-owned vehicles, putting top dollar in trade, highly motivated to make deals happen. In fact, I got a call from the dealership on the car that I bought from them a couple of years ago about maybe trading that in because they want really nice pre-owned vehicles, and I have one that I bought from there. And as the weather is warming up, get ready for some top-down fun. The 2023 Jeep Wrangler or Gladiator, Dodge Last Call event going on. Get yourself a high-performance 2023 Dodge Charger or Challenger before they're gone. And Ram Truck Month is coming to a strong close with rebates up to 10% off select models. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, as the tournament heads into the Final Four and heats up to the championship climax. Well, so is their March sales event that's going on, as I mentioned, with what they have with Ram Truck Month and Jeep Celebration event. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, award-winning dealership, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your hometown grocery store with a full-service butcher shop and bakery. Hi, this is David Smoak. The butcher shop can take your customized orders for seafood, pork, and poultry, and custom cut your favorite steaks from bacon-wrapped fillets to T-bone to bone-in ribeyes, cut specifically the way you want. They have Norwegian salmon fillets, catfish fillets, sliced ham or turkey and lunch meat, variety of cheese available, and several options of sausage links, fresh chicken breast or whole chickens, sliced bacon, pork chops, ground beef, marinated beef, and chicken fajitas, and always large briskets available, plus fresh vegetables. So the great product, customer service, and family tradition of the Bauer family continues at Waco Custom Marketplace, open Monday through Saturday. A full-service butcher shop and bakery available. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm, welcome home.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Enjoying the show? Hit the like button and subscribe.
We have had Jason Hooten on. I bring him up because remember all the mess with New Mexico State men's basketball? He was the head coach at Sam Houston State. He's been hired as the new men's coach at New Mexico State. Congratulations to Jason Hooten for that opportunity. Now, Charles Barkley, it was fantastic. I love him. He doesn't care what you or I think. He says what he thinks. Sometimes he may be wrong or we may disagree with him. Charles Barkley on 60 Minutes on NCAA or college basketball. It's a travesty and a disgrace. I'm so mad now. How can we mess something up that's so beautiful? We can't pay all of these players. In the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to have 25 schools that's going to dominate the sport because they can afford players, and these schools that can't afford or won't pay players are going to be irrelevant. Now, there's part of what he says, maybe you agree with him. Who are the teams in the Final Four?
I mean, there's only two of them that I know that would be, rolling. I mean, UConn is probably rolling out some NIL money for basketball players. I mean, that's a blue blood program. It would shock me if they're not doing that. And we know about Miami, but look, the NIL at FAU and San Diego State is obviously not that big, but this is still early in that process.
There are no McDonald's All-Americans and 0 top 30 recruits in this weekend's Final Four.
Yeah, that's really crazy. I mean, this is one of the strangest ones. Now, you say it's strange, but we do have, UConn is in it, and UConn's won multiple national titles before. So, I mean, that's a school that can get there pretty quickly.
I think we got to get past the COVID year before we start declaring that this is the way things are. Where oh, no, this is always going to be how it is now because of the transfer portal, that you're going to have your San Diego States super veteran-laden lining up in the Final Four, or, you know, FAU for that matter. I don't think – you can't compare football and basketball straight up. Like, that's a different animal as far as the amount of money, the number of players and things like that. I do think NIL does allow some other schools to have opportunities that they maybe wouldn't otherwise, talent speaking. But I do think this is as much having super veteran senior squad rosters from the COVID year as much as it is the NIL piece of this thing.
Yeah, probably. I mean, there's the NIL piece is still, again, really, really early. Yeah, Miami probably, was able to, improve on what they did last year, which was a nice run with going and getting Nigel Pack and some of the other guys and shoring that up. And UConn probably already had it. But, yeah, when everybody there's 23, I mean, it's a different thing than it's been in a long, long time.
And I don't think it's coincidence that all these schools have similar traits. Like, they're not like one team's like a bunch of freshmen and one team's – it's like all super veteran teams that are in this Final Four and have benefited from deep benches and having sixth-year guys who have been in the fire and all of that. So that's been a blessing. But I'm not one that believes that this year's an example of how it's going to be. And this is like, see? It's not that bad. This is going to be like this. Like, look, there's shots for the little guy and all of that. I do wonder if this isn't just a little glimpse into, the reason that it's like that is because of the older guys that are around and older girls for that matter on the other side of the coin. But as far as Barkley's comments go, yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I think that's kind of everybody's concern, and it's interesting to hear, a bigger personality like him who's closely attached to the game, even though he's mostly NBA, but, pops in for college basketball, especially this time of year, and I think he's just saying what everybody's afraid of and feels like it's probably going to happen eventually, and, there's a lot of different ways you can go with that argument, but I don't think he's all the way wrong. I don't know that he's all the way right either.
Well, he said that, and he mentioned it. He also made a comment about Kevin Durant. Did you guys see the interview by any chance?
No, I did not.
Made a comment about Kevin Durant, who got mad at Barkley because he was talking about how he's overly sensitive. And he said, we now are in an age where athletes just feel like they are above being criticized, that they're so protected and they're so in a cocoon that any kind of criticism sends them, they just won't speak to you anymore. And I don't know if I've really experienced that myself, even at the college level. Don't cover as much pro sports as I used to, but I think you could see that. I think you could see that trend right now. And Kevin Durant, all-time great, Hall of Famer, won an NBA title. There's argument about that title he won with the Warriors. He was part of them winning the title. Of course, he gets the ring, even though you had some who were the foundation of what Golden State became with Curry and Draymond and others as well.
Yeah, I've never understood the I know that there are, in other walks of life, and in the sports media, there's these guys too, but, as far as your normal, beat writers, I never got, Kevin Durant got really mad at the media in Oklahoma City a few times when he was there, and I never understood that, or, people, sometimes people... yes, if you write a column criticizing a team and you're a columnist, that's one thing. Sometimes I think, especially professional athletes that are ones that are so in that bubble, take just questions as criticisms when there's not really criticism. It's just a question on why are you doing things this way or why is this happening? And so I think that's just part of our, our world. And it kind of always has been. It's just worse now because there's a lot more media than there used to be. Used to be for most sports teams, your professional sports teams, if you're not in New York and you're not playing for the Yankees or the Giants, or you're not in Boston or one of these crazy markets, you play for the Rangers. There's 6 beat writers that come and see you, and then there's some TV guys. But even in a big city like Dallas, there's not a whole lot of people you have to worry about. Now, Cowboys a little bit different, but then if you got traded from the Rangers to the Yankees, then that quadruples overnight. And so you think, oh my God, I'm in this cage. But yeah, I've never understood why people think somebody's out to get them when they're asking them questions.
Yeah, I don't know about Charles and Kevin Durant, their whole back and forth and ongoing saga. I could really not care any less about it. But I will say, I mean, yeah, there's some point that Charles is making that's true. I think everybody's just a lot less. I think everybody's desensitized and somehow more sensitive than ever. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Which is bizarre, but I think that's, part COVID lockdowns. I think that's just the way of the world's working with technology. I think, we're just in a very weird time period. But, yeah, I think that's probably the way I would sum it up is everybody's more sensitive than ever and more desensitized than ever. At the same time, if you're Kevin Durant, you're not just growing up when, the dude with a cigar who covers the Yankees is writing his Sunday, article on you and hammering. This is all the time. It's anytime he probably turns on TV, an NBA show. Kevin Durant, he's hurt, he's this, his son's, blah, blah, blah. I mean, anytime he can't go on Twitter and look at his mentions without getting, 5,000 daily messages about how much he sucks or whatever or how great he is. And, yeah, I mean, it's a lot easier said than done to be in Charles's shoes from the 90s when you guys basically were non-existent if you weren't on TV. Nobody was following you around. There might be some paparazzi shots of Charles out, whatever. But we know for a daggone fact, all this crap happening with John Morant. You mean to tell me that Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley in the TMZ era wouldn't have been caught at some strip club or some poker game or some whatever?
Oh, they would have been caught there.
They got to deal with so much more crap than the dudes in the 90s dealt with. And I'm a 90s guy. But, you talk about people being sensitive. You'd be a little bit more sensitive, too, if you grew up in the way that you're just able to be touched by anybody at any time at any given moment unless you just block out all electronics. And maybe that's what Kevin Durant should do more often than not.
Well, he's on Twitter a lot.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. And I will say that, yeah, he's probably a little too sensitive for somebody who likes to check out things about himself. But, yeah, I think it's just there's a disconnect, old guy, young guy, and it's nothing more than that, really. It's nothing more special than that being the case with the guy from the 80s and a guy from the 90s. It's
old
just
man,
this
get off my
era's
lawn. Yeah.
version of it. Charles is the old guy barking now. Kevin Durant will one day be that guy, too, talking about, LeBron's kid or something. You know what I mean? That's the way that it goes, so it's not that big of a deal.
Here's the actual quote from Barkley on Durant. He's very sensitive, great player. He's part of that generation who think he can't be criticized. He's never looked in the mirror and said, man, is that a fair criticism? Kevin Durant responded soon afterwards on his Twitter feed, this ain't getting tiring, Chuck. I'll never respect the words that come out of your mouth. Fam, just deal with it. That's what he said.
Yeah. I mean, look, they're not going to get along. And Kevin Durant is a unique dude. I mean, he's different and strange.
He's got 21 million people who follow
look,
him.
I mean, and he's entitled to feel that way. I want to go back to one thing that Charles said about there's going to be 25 teams that dominate everything. Well, that's the way we're letting America go, right? Where there's no checks and balances on people getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So that's just how it's going to be for the schools that have money, right? When's there going to be a check and balance on that?
Never.
There's. I mean,
it's out the barn. The barn, hay's out of the barn.
Yeah, unless there's a huge Teddy Roosevelt trust busting reckoning coming, it's not happening anywhere else. So why would it happen in college athletics? It's not gonna. I mean, so what they'll have to smartly do is you got to figure out your place. And what's going to be sad is that they're going to be sports that go away. They're just going to be gone. As far as
somebody sent me a text early this morning that mentioned how there may be a trend towards more esports.
Yeah, I mean,
that's been taught. I mean, I don't know if there's really a huge market there for universities, though. I mean, e-leagues do fine, and some streamers make lots of money, but that doesn't mean you just put together teams and it clicks and you.
Do I need to get a student playing video games all day? I mean,
I mean, they do. Some of them do anyways and handle it just fine. But, I mean, I don't think that's the key to unlocking magic revenue streams is what I'm saying. I don't think that's the next football that's going to be, your big feather in your cap that comes saves the day. I mean, what schools are cutting sports? The ones that aren't going to be in certain leagues.
Yeah.
But with the Big Ten going to cut sports, they can't cut sports. They have no excuse to cut sports. Yeah. SEC has no excuse to cut sports. So they're not cutting anything. I don't think that, the Big 12, the Pac-12, any of them are looking to cut sports, but, maybe that's a possibility. I mean, we can go doomsday scenario, but it's the way it's going regardless. So if that's a byproduct of that, then the people in charge are the ones that, are going to be accountable for that. But what level of accountability is there? I don't know. I just think it is what it is. Like you said, the hay's out of the barn. So any hope that somehow magically it's going to change and it's going to be fair and equal for everybody, that's not realistic. So, determine how you can best navigate that. I know it's what people like Mac Rhodes are trying to figure out at Baylor. They can't pay people the way Texas can pay people or Oklahoma can pay people, and even still, even if they could, there's already other advantages those schools have just built up over time. So, yeah, there's always going to be some disadvantage, but now it's just probably a bit greater than it was before. But to what extent, I don't think anybody truly knows. But that's why you got to figure out your 10-year plan, your 20-year plan, your 30-year plan, and figure out where you fit in amongst all that.
The text from the 858, football anyone? Nope. UC Berkeley's eSports Community Center growing competitive collegiate esports at UC Berkeley. We've discussed what their future might be. They're going to figure it all out at Stanford and UC Berkeley, but that was an interesting text that I received overnight. All right, when we come back, Jim Williams, Forbes magazine wrote a column today about Jim Nantz. This is his last week of covering the NCAA tournament, plus a few other things. And oh, by the way, like Bob Thompson, after Jim Williams was on with us the first time, he has learned about Utah versus Brigham Young's rivalry. That and more, and this is 365 Sports. I don't have the weekly specials yet from Waco Custom Marketplace, but I do have what they have every week right now, which is 30-pound bags of live crawfish at $3.50 a pound. You can call and order your 30-pound bags of crawfish, and it might be 1, 2, or how many bags you need for a live crawfish. Paul mentioned he went to one over the weekend. When I was walking out of HEB, or actually walking into HEB, the location on Wooded Acres, they had their crawfish boil with the red potatoes and the corn and the peel and eat shrimp and of course, much more that they had available. So it's time. It's been time. And right now, if you want to have your own, you can order your own live crawfish, big chunky crawfish at Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. Orders must be placed for the live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. You can then pick up your product, how many bags it might be, after 4 o'clock on Friday or during the time they're open on Saturday. Brian Bauer and the Bauer family at Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
During Ram Truck Month, get incredible deals on Ram trucks at Allen Samuels in Waco. Come see why Ram continues to win awards year after year. Browse online or come shop the greatest selection of new car and truck inventory in stock today at Allen Samuels.
This is the soundtrack of life at Baylor.
There's a spark in your heart and a fire that's in your eyes.
If you're ready to take a big step toward a bright future, tap the banner below to check out the music video for a glimpse of life at Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Nantz Group Insurance Agency. With the Nantz Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Nantz Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Nantz Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 $5 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today. Just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway, Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses. When it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why we take the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott in Conroe at 936-756-7717. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Jim Williams has appeared on our show. We have been able to go to those who have been behind the scenes with all the talk about media deals and contracts and facilities, broadcast and others. And Jim Williams back with us on 365 Sports. He's written another article in Forbes and Zeigler on Jim Nantz stepping away from the March Madness as they hit the Final Four this weekend in the city of Houston. Jim, thanks for your time. Your article on Jim Nantz, and you brought this up to me late last week, and it's like it's almost hard, not like Madden had to leave and Summerall had to leave, and there's others. And isn't Jim Nantz in that category among the greatest ones?
I think so from a play-by-play standpoint. One of the things that Jim did, and, he came from the Ray Scott and Frank Chikinian, Pat Summerall, less is more play-by-play school. And I think, he's always understated. He never, oversells anything. And I think that's what makes him what he is, which is actually just an incredibly nice guy who does a very good job of play-by-play. And you know yourself, Smokey, because you've done it. It's not an easy thing to do.
There's a certain style, and I think now we have almost like too much over like yelling and screaming during a broadcast, and I get myself caught up in that. I'm not by any means in any shape or form comparing myself to what Jim Nantz does at a national level. But to walk away from that, you have the March Madness, the Masters in the NFL. Isn't like that the triple crown of broadcasting?
It would be for me. I know that Jim, it was a quick turnaround because he would do the Monday night national championship game, and then he would go directly to Augusta, where, of course, on Wednesday they would start practice, and Thursday, the tournament would begin. So it's a quick turnaround. I think at the end of the day, he and Courtney just bought a house in Nashville, and I think he just wants to spend time, with the family. And when you end the football season basically in February, and then, basically you're back at it in March because he does tournament games and then does the NCAA tournament, you really don't have a lot of time. And I think that he just said, 32 years of doing this, I can walk away from it, and it's not going to, I think he'll miss it. I don't think that's something that he won't do, but I think he'll miss it. But I think that, as I said before, he's got some young kids, and I think he really wants to be there for them.
Jim, have they made the decision? Is it Ian Eagle that'll take over, or Harlan, or whoever? Who is it?
Ian Eagle is going to get the job. Ian's a great guy, super announcer. I love Kevin Harlan.
Yeah.
But he works for TNT. So we'll see. No, and he works on some stuff for CBS. But no, it's going to be Ian. And Ian's a great guy, and he'll do well. I mean, we all know, you've heard him. I mean, so basically, he's good. Here's the funny thing, guys. Jim walking away from this before Raph is to me, it's hilarious. I used to work with Raph long ago, and I'm thinking, my God, he must be 170 years old. I have no idea.
He's my age. He's 63. Nantz.
Oh, Nantz is. Yeah, but no, I thought you were going to tell me.
No.
No, there's no way that Rafferty is that age. But no, I Jim is decided. As I said before, he wants to take some time, and he's still going to be with Tony doing the football, and he'll still be the golf guy. But Ian will take over the duties of calling the March Madness in the Final Four, and of course the national championship game.
Jim, since the last time we had you on, and you become more out on Twitter about a lot of your opinions, you've learned that Brigham Young and Utah is a hell of a rivalry, haven't you?
We talked for 17 minutes last week, and 30 seconds of an answer. I think it was with Craig of a question. When you start asking me about BYU and Utah, I'm gonna have to prepare a statement because I'm not gonna wing it anymore. That one was. Let me just put it this way: they are very passionate about their fans out there, and I'll leave it at that. And by the way, Jim used to call BYU football.
I saw that note on your tees. I did not know that. I had no idea that he once did Brigham. I knew he was obviously University of Houston graduate. I did not know about the Brigham Young connection.
He was the weekend guy at KSL, and he did the Utah Jazz with Hot Rod Hundley, and he did BYU football.
So
before he went to CBS.
You get a lot of questions on the Pac-12, obviously. Not really anything has changed whatsoever. There are still thoughts about what it might be or not be, and maybe a few more people have talked or whatever. What were your thoughts about Arizona President Robbins and what he said? Did he actually say they weren't leaving? Did he actually say their eyes were at least still searching? What did you get out of all of what he said last week?
He did a great job of straddling the line. I mean, he did what I think any competent president of any school would do, and that is, we want to stay, but, they have to give us a reason, so to speak. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, obviously, what he said and what I interpreted it. It was basically a situation saying, for right now, we're fine. But, he left the door open, and he should. I mean, that's basically, you have to make a decision that is best for your institution. And if that means sticking with the Pac-12 because everything is cool, then that's great. If that means you got to leave because, it's in the best interest of your university to do that, then you got to do that too. And so, I think that's where he played that role was, to use your point, he left, I think, the door not wide open, but, certainly ajar.
Jim, since then, we've had, a lot of there's been less talk and noise, and this thing seems to go in phases. Is that good for the Pac-12 that they kind of had this brief period of like throwing stuff against the wall, and now they can go back and see what they all like? Or what do you make of everything that came out in the last couple weeks, and now we've kind of gone through some radio silence?
I think silence is not a bad thing in this case. I think that they want to sit down and talk about their partners. I've seen some wild rumors out there that ESPN was offering like $9 million per school, like a $90 million package for 2 games. One was supposed to be, I guess, the Pac-12 After Dark, and the other one was going to be on ESPN Plus. I have seen absolutely nothing that would corroborate that. So those people out there who are, saying it, if they might be the only people in the world that have that information, because nobody credible, and I'm not saying that these people aren't credible in what they do, but no credible sources said that. And so until somebody says it, and until it's being an offer, it's not an offer. And we're going to see the offer, and we're going to see it in total, and we're going to see if the president of Arizona and Arizona State like it. And same thing for Colorado and for Utah. So it's again to get to your point on that, I don't think radio silence is a bad thing when you're going through negotiations, because noise doesn't help.
Jim, San Diego State, they've obviously been talked about widely as a potential expansion candidate, not just the Pac-12, but also the Big 12 and just, I guess, in general. But, I saw, like after they made the Final Four, of like, give them the invite, send them the invite. And, I know a lot of that's just playing around, but what does the type of run that they're on right now, what kind of an impact can that have? I mean, it clearly doesn't just guarantee anything, but for the folks behind the scenes who are thinking about moves and looking into San Diego State, what does the run that they're on right now have, like, bearing-wise, if any at all?
It certainly helps. Yeah, absolutely. And John Wilner, in his column in the Mercury News this morning, was basically saying, now would be a good time to put together a Zoom call and make a phone call to San Diego State. So, if John Wilner's calling it, I would definitely follow his suit. I think that you can't string these people along. That's terribly unfair. And so if you, obviously you also don't want to give them an invite right in the middle of a tournament situation like this, because that would be incredibly unfair to the Mountain West, because obviously the Mountain West is going to be, wants to bask in the glory of having a team there, just like Conference USA wants FAU, because FAU's on their way out to the AAC. So these are two programs that are moving on, but gosh, you should let them at least, I'm talking about the conference standpoint. You should let the Mountain West and Conference USA have a little moment of zen there, and then if next Monday you want to make an announcement, or Tuesday, that'd be the time to do it.
We had Mark Zeigler from the San Diego Union Tribune on earlier, and he mentioned the city of San Diego. Obviously, it used to be and still might be kind of a pro sports town, but what San Diego State has brought to the table. But even he mentioned that USC and UCLA carried the market in San Diego, and he wasn't sure as far as when it came to a network that San Diego State would move the needle. What is the main strength of what they do bring to the table?
I think they bring a solid sports program that people like you and I and Paul and Craig will watch. And obviously I defer to the writer that you had in from San Diego as to what kind of town San Diego is. But I do think that in many ways, I'll tell you what, it looks to me like they're at the kind of a basketball version of UCF's football program. And, it's kind of like a stock, you buy it on the rise, right? And I think that's it. I think for the Pac, or if the Pac passes or chooses not to take them and they end up in the Big 12, that wouldn't be a bad idea either. I think they're going to be an up-and-coming brand. I think that stadium out there, if you haven't been out there, Snapdragon Stadium is a really cool place. And they're going to keep it rocking. And I think, as I said, that when Bowlesby went out and got Cincinnati and the programs he got, three of them, Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF, were growth stocks, right? You're hoping that they grow over time. BYU was a known commodity. So I think San Diego State is one of those growth stocks, and I think that over time they can be both in football and certainly in basketball. Something that that the Pac would be proud of, and as I said, would draw eyeballs from those of us who don't live out there.
What is the biggest misconception about the Pac-12 media deal, in your opinion, or lack of media deal, in your opinion?
That George Kliavkoff screwed this up. Let me just say that commissioners in professional sports work for the owners, and presidents, commissioners of college sports work for presidents. Some presidents move slower, and some institutions move slower than a commissioner may like it. Look at what happened with Warren at the Big Ten, right? He gets the Big Ten, what arguably is the greatest deal in college sports history, and there's enough grousing to make him decide, you know what, I think I'm going to the Chicago Bears. I think did Kliavkoff make mistakes? I'm sure he did. But is he solely responsible for this disaster? Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, he's got presidents he has to speak to, and if they're not all on the same page, or if they have, different agendas or different ways they want to do things, then it can make his job absolutely a mess.
Which is what happened before with the Big 12, the commissioners they've had. Even Bowlesby had to deal with that. Do you feel like right now Brett Yormark has carte blanche? I know that he has input from people. Don't get me wrong, ADs and presidents, but do you feel like right now he has a honeymoon period that's still there?
Absolutely. But I think that what he did is he was smart enough to know he had a game plan when he came in. Because he knew he had to do something to put his, mark, no pun intended, his mark on the conference. And he did that with the TV deal. He did it with some concepts of, giving an idea of what kind of entertainment and how to kind of, for lack of a better way of putting it, spruce up the image of the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
And he brought that pizzazz to it. And it's like it's like a Broadway play, right? You want to get the good reviews, and Brett Yormark was getting nothing but good reviews. And he took that and emboldened himself and the conference, and he took a swagger. I mean, the Big 12 now has a swagger, and it's because Yormark's personality has that kind of, and that's not a bad thing. It's just he's got that kind of, electricity that excites people. Now, the goal is to continue to keep that excitement going, and there's no reason to believe he can't. But he understands entertainment, and entertainment is making people pay attention to you. And God knows that he's done that, and that's not a bad thing. So good on him, and good for the conference.
And then they just had the announcement last week about the clinics, et cetera, at Rucker Park. The NFL Combine that will be in the Big 12, all the Combine will be at one place in Frisco at the Star. Like today, Baylor had theirs. And every little dollar matters for, especially in a conference that's not at the high level of the Big Ten or the SEC. Does everything here just add to the pie that strengthens the Big 12, even if it's, okay, this is $300,000 or this is $5 million for the conference or whatever else? Do you see him kind of just compiling more and more, whatever it might be, money?
He can nickel and dime this to a lot of money. And I could see him, a guy like him could go and help, for instance, bring concerts to Baylor on campus. I mean, he's got the connections in the entertainment world to do to help the universities in other ways outside of sports. And I think that's, yet another way to tap into it. And I think, yeah, absolutely. I mean, $31.7 million is a lot of money. But when your budget is twice that, then, you realize that you have to make more money. And I think anything, like you said, marketing, any kind of promotion, anything that they can do to keep the Big 12 up there. Right now, the Big 12 arguably is solid in the number 3 spot behind the SEC and the Big 10. I would, the buzz that the Big 12's putting out is a whole lot more than the ACC's putting out.
Jim, the time continues, and we don't know when, if there's ever going to be. There has to be eventually something that the Pac-12 is at least the presidents have in front of them. Do you feel like that, as like last week or the week before, there was this surge of hearing from various presidents in the Pac-12, and there were even thoughts about there would be something next Tuesday or Wednesday in a CEO meeting or this or that? Do you feel like some of that last week, did it was a disappointing that there was no news, or do you just feel like that was exaggerated?
I think somewhere in between. I think what happened is that I think they've got a general idea of a number, okay, and a general idea of a deal. But that may not be what one or two of them, like. So there's probably some tweaking going on. We know it's going to be a predominantly streaming deal. I mean, that's no secret. So, I think what they're trying to do is trying to refine it to figure out where they are, because once it comes out, it's out. And so I do think that I don't think the presidents would have of Arizona and Arizona State and some of the potential schools that may or may not leave, right, would go as boldly out there as they did without some sort of knowledge of what a number is and at least the framework of a deal.
And yet and yet there was still, we need to see the number. It was kind of like covering their, Yeah,
sure. I mean, at the end of the day, what if, let's just play this out for just a second. Let's say the number's 28. Okay. I mean, just pick that number. It's less than, obviously, 31. I wasn't a math major, but I could figure that one out. So you go there, and so it's not what the Big 12 is offering, and it's streaming more than he wanted. But at the end of the day, he's convinced that maybe this isn't so bad. So we are not going to change conferences right now. So he has to have something, and I'm talking now about the president, he being the president of Arizona, has to have some cover there. I need to see the number. Okay, the number isn't what Big 12 has, but, he needs to be able to explain it. And a lot of that's, something that deals are done and then they're redone and done over and over and over. And so my guess is they're fine tuning it. They can't possibly be going into May and June without a deal. It's got to come soon. And I do believe they're within range. I think they've got soft numbers, maybe not the hard numbers yet. They've got soft concepts of what the streaming aspect of it's going to look like. Maybe they're just trying to fine tune where are we going to put the games on linear television, and that may be a hang up. So there may be one or two things that's hanging this up, but I can't fathom that this is going to go on for much longer, because it just can't. From a standpoint of the PAC has taken a huge, PR pounding, and that affects the president just as much as not having the deal affects him.
If you were one of the presidents and a number came out, would there be a number that made you go gulp, like in the wrong way?
Yeah, anything south of 25.
Okay.
Because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's one thing to be within 5 or 6 million, right, of the conference, the Big 12 conference. to be that underestimated or undervalued, or however you want to think of it, would concern me. But, fortunately for the people in the Pac-12, and more importantly, the educators in the Pac-12, I am not a president of any of those institutions.
Jim, we appreciate it.
I may not be able to get into those institutions.
Well, I didn't get a letter from Stanford and Cal either.
Jim, there are some places I think they would much rather have you than the person they have.
Yeah.
I'll just say.
Well, you're very kind to say that, Paul. But anyway, no, well, again, it's going to be interesting, guys. And this is a soap opera that I hope ends happily, but, that's up to them.
Jim, thank you very much for your knowledge, experience, and insight. Appreciate it, Jim. Williams wrote the article on Jim Nantz at Forbes. Zeigler Sports, that also was a part of network broadcast deals back in the days of even home sports entertainment. One note, a sad note, former Baylor All-American, 14 years in the NFL. He was a part of that 1973, the great John Tyler football team that included Earl Campbell, passed away earlier. And we want to send our thoughts and condolences to the great Ronnie Lee. John Tyler High School, and also Baylor, and 14-year veteran. Seahawks, Dolphins twice, and also a part of the Atlanta Falcons. This is 365 Sports.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people. Good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB, your bank for life. Member FDIC.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year. Whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Welcome back to 365 Sports. It's time for our weekly segment with David Helman of FoxSports.com.
David Helman covers the Cowboys, covers the NFL, joins us Mondays in the 5 o'clock hour. We welcome him as always. David, thanks for your time with Paul Craig, David Smoak. Your thoughts about Lamar Jackson asking to be traded?
Oh, I mean, it's getting fun now. I mean, I think we've known for a while that this was going to be the most high-profile off-season storyline, and it's living up to the hype. I mean, it was only 3 or 4 days ago that word came out that he was asking his business partner to negotiate for him, and now we find out that he asked for a trade. I mean, have fun figuring out what it means. I think any player, it's very normal for a player in a contract negotiation to ask for a trade. I think that's part of doing business. So we'll see if it actually amounts to anything, but I had a feeling a few months ago that this was going to get contentious, and it's living up to the bill.
And look, if he goes to the Patriots, they can forever thank Meek Mill for, brokering that deal, apparently.
I think I missed that. I thought Meek Mill was an Eagles fan.
So Meek Mill texted Robert Kraft, according to Robert Kraft today at the owners' meetings, and said that Lamar Jackson wants to be a Patriot.
Oh, okay. I mean, sure. I mean, I think Lamar Jackson probably wants to be wherever he thinks he can get the most money. But, yeah, sure. If Meek Mill wants to help the Pats get Lamar Jackson, that would be a hell of a headline.
Yeah, I think Robert Kraft did help him get out of prison, so maybe so he's
that makes
indebted.
sense.
Yeah,
oh my God,
that makes sense. Yeah.
So, David, just fantasy booking this thing. Where does your mind immediately go when you think of Lamar Jackson potentially on the move?
I mean, if I could snap my fingers and put Lamar on any team in the league, no matter how little sense it made, it's hard. It's hard not to think about how much fun Kyle Shanahan could have with him on the 49ers. I mean, Kyle Shanahan is a wonderful offensive coach. The stuff that he draws up, obviously largely responsible for a lot of quarterback success, RG3 being chief among them. So if you gave him a guy with Lamar Jackson's talent, and then also consider how freaking loaded the Niners are, that sounds amazing. I have no idea if it's feasible. I don't know what kind of draft capital the Niners have left or how much cap space they even have, but can't help but notice that they need a quarterback. And man, that would be a ton of fun. It would be fun to see him in Atlanta too, but I don't know how much the Falcons want to pull that off.
Well, I know if there's a new ownership in Washington, which seems like that's just a matter of time, how better a way to go, hey, than to pull something off for Lamar Jackson?
I mean, that would be amazing. I think, unfortunately for you, Smokey, I think the price in Washington is going to be a little bit higher than a lot of other places.
I agree.
Just because you would be, be trading the greatest, or maybe not the greatest, but one of the greatest players in franchise history, certainly the best quarterback in franchise history. You'd be trading him about 45 minutes away to a team that you're competing with for eyeballs. It would be fun. And it would be a hell of a way for a new ownership group to kind of announce themselves, but I think it would cost a pretty penny.
Upon hearing your criticism of him, Kyle Bowler said, hey, wait, you're right. Never mind. David, Jerry Jones said something very interesting today when it came to the Cowboys' offensive line, and that he envisions Terrence Steele as the swing tackle and Tyron Smith and Tyler Smith as the tackles. Do you think that's because Terrence Steele won't necessarily be full speed and ready to go game one, or that's what they envision the line being?
I don't know. I saw that as well, and it made my eyebrows perk up. I wish I was in Phoenix right now to sort of follow up on that and try to get more information about it. Unfortunately, I'm not, because that's one of those. We see this all the time, though. I mean, Jerry Jones is not afraid to go rogue, and so I mean, we'll see. I'm not super worried about Terrence Steele's health. I know. I mean, ACL injuries are tough to rehab from, but I was looking at video on Twitter as recently as Friday of him working on pass sets and looking pretty healthy. So you consider that it's only March. I'm not super worried about him. He's got a reputation he's one of the hardest working guys on the team in terms of off-season conditioning and working out and stuff like that. I don't know if Jerry – because, again, Jerry kind of likes to go rogue. This could be a situation where Jerry's speaking a little bit prematurely and kind of giving something away that maybe he wasn't supposed to, or maybe this really is their plan. I think it's kind of a weird plan, but it's, you're kind of stuck in a weird situation when you have a potential Hall of Famer who loses his job to injury, and you also drafted a first-round kid to play left tackle. And, so Tyron Smith wants to play his position, obviously, and then you don't want to stunt the growth of the first-round draft pick who played admirably. So, maybe the undrafted free agent is kind of the odd man out. That's really not fair to Terrence Steele because he was phenomenal last year, but politics are part of this. I wonder how the draft will affect that. I mean, you still think the Cowboys will probably draft an offensive lineman at some point. Maybe they'll even do it as early as the first round. So I don't think this is totally settled yet, but I definitely thought that was interesting. And if Terrence Steele winds up on the bench, that's going to be very weird. And I think, it's going to be very difficult trying to keep all three of those guys happy.
David, okay, so let's do a little fantasy draft right here, or I guess not that, but like at 26 and running back is not an option. So I would assume that's Robinson and probably Gibbs, whether they have him ranked at 26 or not. But in Gibbs, not really an option at 26. Do you lean making a play for a tight end, defensive tackle? And I know that your early draft crush was Nolan Smith. Has that changed at all?
Oh, definitely not. My only issue with Nolan Smith is just I think he's too good to hang around till 26. He's just kind of he's got that freaky ability that doesn't tend to hang around into the mid-20s. I actually, for FoxSports.com today, I wrote a whole story about I'm terrified of first-round tight ends, and that's not a knock on Michael Mayer or Dalton Kincaid. Or any other tight end that might get drafted in the first round, Darnell Washington. But look at the history, and it'll tell you it's not very good. The number of only one tight end in the last 12 years drafted in the first round has signed a long-term extension with the team that drafted him. I think it's a position where guys don't come into the pros ready to do every aspect of the job, and it takes time. And typically by the time a guy is developed into a fully formed player, you've got to pay him. And so I'm very nervous about using a big time pick on a tight end just because it's not a position where you get instant results. So if it's me and if running back's off the table, I mean, I'm always interested to know what receivers are available. Zay Flowers, the shifty guy out of Boston College, if he was there, that would be interesting. I don't think Jackson Smith and Jigba would be there, but if he was, that would be very interesting. I think there will be some pass rushers available that could be very interesting, whether it's Nolan Smith. Will McDonald out of Iowa State is another guy that I've developed a big liking for. I think he could be a very intriguing prospect. So, or like I was just saying, I think there will be some offensive linemen that are available, whether that's a guard or even, I mean, if a tackle is the best guy available, I would still probably do it just to keep a strength to strength, and then you don't have to worry about re-signing Terrence Steele. You don't have to worry about Tyron Smith getting injured. So I think they're in a really good position because I think there's really anything they do, I think would make a ton of sense. Like I said, my personal preference is just that I'm a little nervous about tight ends.
David, thank you very much. As always, David.
Thanks,
I'm sorry, Craig. You got some? Hold on, Dave. Hold on.
Yeah, David, any thoughts on Kim Mulkey and the Tigers heading to the Final Four in women's basketball?
I mean, we hired her to get us to Final Fours, and here we are. I'm not as excited as I probably should be, just because I know how good South Carolina is, and if I had to guess, I'm not betting against them to win the national title. I think they already whooped our butts once this year. But still, that's why you hire Kim Mulkey. Y'all know. She came right in, and we were good last year, and now we're in the Final Four in her second year. And hopefully this is a sign of things to come. But it's not very often that a plan works that well that easily. Like for her to already be kind of delivering on that potential in her second season is very exciting. So the Final Four is here in Dallas, so I'm definitely going to try to go.
David, thank you very much. David Helman, Fox Sports with us, LSU fan that he is. Garrett Ross, big LSU fan that he is, will be up in Dallas watching the women's Final Four.
No, I'll be here.
Yeah, Garrett's more of a fashionista, so I think he's much more, wondering what she's going to be wearing.
It's all about the outfit, definitely.
Yeah. Did Liberace have some sort of a closet that
was rated?
She
Elton John?
Yeah. No,
I was trying to play golf Friday afternoon, and my phone starts to blow up a little bit, and it's pictures of her in her outfit. But, the woman can coach. She can recruit. They've got the number one class coming in already. They will be really good while she is there. And now the question is Virginia Tech or Ohio State in the semifinals with South Carolina on the other end of it, who's beaten them already, once, pretty decisively. They didn't get to meet in the conference championship game in the SEC because LSU was upset by Tennessee.
I believe it was Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Might have been Ole Miss.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I know Tennessee, but okay. All right. When we come back, Paul Catalina's Top 5. This is 365 Sports.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Sausage wrap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. Nachos and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB, your bank for life. Member FDIC.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, locally owned pizza place that's out of this world. Everything from the dough, the sauce, the sausage topping is made fresh in-house. Not to mention the amazing pizza pillows, the chicken wings are to die for. Try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries or tots, plus great specials on food and drink every single day. Shorty's is also the perfect spot to watch the game with your friends. Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
This Is Paul Catalina's top 5 at 5:45? Or is it 5:55? Either way, it's the top 5.
Top 5 things to look forward to in Big 12 basketball next season, since the Big 12 season has come to a close. And, it was disappointing in that, the last 3 championship games, you've had at least a team in it, and 2 of the last 2, a team has won it. So for the Big 12, it's got to be disappointing not getting anybody in the Final Four, but they had 2 teams there with very reasonable opportunities, and one of them blew a lead and one of them couldn't come back and get in it. So still a great year, I would say, for the Big 12 when you get 25% of the Elite 8.
Yeah, could have been half the Final Four, though. That would have been nice. But if you're a Big 12 fan, would you rather have that streak continue or have Texas in it?
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. Like, what deal with the fidelity you make? Yeah.
Like, legit, would you rather, if it was the streak continues, you could say, 4 years in a row we've had a team in the Final Four and championship game, whatever, but it's Texas. 3 championships in a row, but it's Texas. Would you want that, or not? I think it'd be quite split.
Well, let me tell you, this is almost like having to put your heart out in front of everybody here. Here's the problem I had. I thought about that. It's a great question. Were Texas fans rooting for Baylor 2 years ago?
Oh, God, no. Not a chance.
It was a nightmare.
Yeah, no.
So if you're a Baylor fan, or probably anybody else is a part of the Big 12, despite the pride of you having the conference, just because I would say most everyone was probably relieved after they were upset or beaten, by Miami.
When Kansas wins a title, everyone in the Big 12 is like, well, that's what happens. I mean, it's, but Baylor winning for Texas in particular, because that makes them pace back and forth and go, well, why can't this happen in Austin? Why is this not happening here?
Oh, believe me, 2021's tournament.
It was a devastating
night.
all the way around. Yeah. Okay, but number 5, can Rodney Terry do it on his own? I think so, but I think that's going to be, and of course, the last year of the Big 12 for Texas. But can Rodney Terry, kind of match is tough. Elite 8 is tough. It's tough to do. But can you get back and have a team that is in as much control of their own destiny as any team at Texas has been for a long time? Again, I think so. I think you're going to see a lot of good things from Rodney Terry, but the league, again, is not going to sit down and go, well, I hope they get 4 good transfers like they did before, but we'll see. Tyrese Hunter will be kind of the focal point next year because they're losing 4 or 5 seniors, and we'll see. Can they bounce back from that and either build on it, repeat it, whatever you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, sure you can. That's why they're making him the head coach, it looks like. If they didn't believe that, then they'd have gone after Calipari or Patino or whoever. I know Patino's got a job now, but could have reached out prior to that, and if they had a idea that they were probably going to not go the Rodney Terry route. But yeah, sure he can, but it's hard, man. I mean, this is a pretty special Texas team that definitely could be sitting there in the Final Four right now if just a couple of things go differently this weekend. So yeah, it's easier said than done for sure, but yeah, I absolutely believe he can do this on his own, so to speak. I mean, he had a hand in crafting the roster. He coached them for the majority of the year. The players seem to love him. And I don't know what it was like when Chris Beard was around, because it was like the blink of an eye, basically, earlier this year. But, I don't know. I think that I'm not sure that team loves him the same way that they love Rodney Terry, given what they had gone through with him,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think he's a player's coach in the best type of way, that they clearly loved him and wanted to win for him. And I think that will only continue because that's just kind of his personality, it seems like, and his style. And they're always going to be attractive for talent and always going to have everything at their disposal that they need. So, yeah, absolutely.
All right. I think he'll be fine. Again, they had one special year. And the question is, what would they have done had that story never occurred? Rodney Terry is very much a part of some of that roster and will be even now more involved. He has to make sure he keeps the right people around him, just like anyone else does that has a lot of success. And now here's the deal. It was a fun, exciting, cute, and adorable story. Now it starts over.
Absolutely.
I think that's the good thing for him and Jerome Tang if there's ever a positive to losing, and I don't think there's really any of them. But if there was one, it's like, okay, now expectations are still going to be weird, but they're not going to be like absurdly weird of, hey, you went to the national title game in your very first year. This is the expectation now, but it's going to be crazy for both anyways, but it really would have been insane had they gone a couple steps further.
Well, I mean, number 4, what's Jerome Tang's encore?
Yep.
Can he – because, look, Keontae Johnson's going to be gone. I mean, like he's going to go he's proven that he deserves at least a shot in the NBA. I know that the heart thing is going to, obviously be on people's minds, but he played well through that and was fantastic. So there's, like on any roster, there's going to be some rebuilding there. So what's their encore? And I do think that he got the kind of national attention that will get people that, when he calls the people in the transfer portal, when he calls up recruits now, that they're going to go, hello, Coach Tang, I will come to Manhattan, Kansas. Because, believe me, you want to play for a guy like this.
Yeah, I tell you what, Kansas State, and I don't remember who the national writer was, mentioned that their social media presence on Twitter alone, and I'm sure it was elsewhere, was phenomenal. And again, he's trying to sell himself and what he's creating. And it was almost the perfect story. And just God bless him and what they did this year in Manhattan, Kansas.
Yeah, I'm not to try to take away from that at all, but I think everybody's social media team thrives when you're winning, like they were winning.
No, you're right. That's a great
they definitely, benefited from the winning more than anything else. But he's got a good culture that's being built. Clearly, he's beloved already there, and so is his staff and his players. And yeah, they're going to have some turnover, but I mean, any worse than what he walked into with 2 guys on scholarship and having to go fill out the rest, basically. I think he could do something like that once again. I mean, the transfer portal is something he's already worked, and I'm sure will work heavy again. And, yeah, that'll be an attractive landing spot, and I'm sure they'll have more support than ever before because now people know they're already on the cusp of something, and that donation or that facility or that whatever pushes them across the finish line. But, yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard. Even with all that being said and as much confidence as we have in him, it's going to be hard to live up to the expectations now because they're going to be out of whack. I mean, they're going to be a little out of whack because, that's what he did year 1. Imagine year 2, year 5, year 10, whatever. So, yeah, but I'm sure they'd much rather live up to that than be doubted and, voted to finish last place in the conference. That's the kind of respect that you're looking for and you want to live up to.
Yeah. Number 3. How does Houston handle the schedule? This is what I think maybe the thing I'm most curious about for the new Big 12 in basketball. I think Houston will be very good. They'll get even better players. Kelvin Sampson will be great. But you will not have freebie nights anymore. That's over. You're.
And here's the thing. By adding Houston to the games for all the 12.
Yeah, they've given themselves one less chance of a freebie night.
Yeah, it's just another example of less freebie nights. You now have them twice a year, or however. I don't know how they're going to do that schedule.
Well, basketball. I mean, next year's going to be. I mean, it's 14 teams, so it'll be based on what we've gotten used to over the last decade.
No, I think they ought to play 26 conference games home and away.
Very wonky. So we'll see that. But yeah, that's something that's going to be there. And Houston. Getting drilled like they did too is not something I saw happening.
They had their pants taken down. I'll tell you this: I love Kelvin Sampson, what he does in basketball. I think they have a hell of a team. It just didn't work out. But what they will bring to the table, obviously, it's not that they can't beat any of the teams in the Big 12. It's having to play 3 or 4 of them in a row, with one of them a Monday or after a Saturday or whatever. And I'm sure they'll be successful, but that will be fun to watch. TCU, remember? When they joined the Big 12, the first year was okay, and then boom, they're playing nearly international championship setting because they handled it, and they did that pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough. I think of all the adjustments that are being made, that might be the best one, though, or the easiest one is Houston men's basketball into the Big 12, although living up to their level this year will be mightily difficult. And, certainly you see, like SMU was bad in basketball this year, so that's just something for the pack. But looking at the Big 12, like UCF wasn't very good. Where do they fit in this whole, where do they fit in the sports besides football? Cincinnati was okay. They were fine. They finished in the upper third of the conference. But yeah, I mean, those are the teams that are coming along as well. But certainly Houston's there at the very top. They were 17-1 in the American. That's just not going to happen in the Big 12. That's just not going to happen. So yeah, it's going to be very curious to see how much of a juggernaut that turns into for them. But I think, like I said, they'll handle it as well as any transition of the teams coming in.
Houston, Cincinnati, and UCF were combined 1-8 against top 25 teams. They're going to have that every year. That doesn't mean they can't have success. That doesn't mean they only played 8 games. You're going to get that in the Big 12 alone. You're going to have in what could be 8 to 12 top 25 games on your schedule when you walk in the door.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 2, who adds the most interesting transfers? Like this, in the Big 12, it's, again, I've become a bit of a transfer portal nerd, but you're going to have Baylor, Kansas, Texas, and Kansas State all trying to replace stars on the team. I mean, everybody will. Houston, throw them in there, but those 4 teams in particular, the ones that have advanced the furthest in the last couple of years.
TCU.
Yeah. Look,
Iowa State's got a lot to replace, right?
Kansas already has 2 or 3 guys in the portal that they're not a shock. Look, Jalen Wilson's going to the NBA. I mean, they're going to have to replace a lot. Now, granted, they're Kansas, and Bill Self can essentially
just 5 stars,
do a bird call and get some really good players out there. But it's still, again, it's tough. And again, the transfer portal makes things tougher for everybody.
And it has to be like, I thought what Texas did. Everybody, they pretty much, I think, they all clicked. They really did have a tremendous chemistry. That's not always been the case.
And that was not the case a year ago when they brought all those guys in. It took them forever to get it together. But
who has the most interesting transfers from another Big 12 program like Texas did with Tyrese Hunter or
that was a
Kevin
monster.
McCullough?
Talk about a kick in the nuts if you're Iowa
Kansas.
State. Yeah.
Those were a couple of the inter-conference transfers, and it's entirely possible we see that again.
And Tech's got a couple good players that are already in that thing too.
Yeah, so I mean that's something to keep an eye on, because that was definitely something that played into the storylines heading into this past year. But I mean, yeah, Kansas is Kansas. Texas is off a great run, and now this new era with Rodney Terry. K-State obviously with Tang. Baylor's wants to bounce back post Keontae George and company.
Flagler, maybe. Who knows what happens with others.
Yeah, we don't know about the whole roster, but TCU's on a good run. Iowa State, not the way they wanted to end, but they've got a lot to like about what TJ Otzelberger's doing. And you got a couple of programs like Oak State and West Virginia that are kind of there and still, I guess, figuring some things out. Not really sure where to. I mean, they're tough outs in just regular conference play. Not sure really the trajectory of what they're on, but like Tech's got to hire a coach. I mean, who's Tech hiring, and how does he shake things up? And then Oklahoma with Porter Moser, like they gotta do something here.
Yeah.
It's the last year in the Big 12 before heading off to the SEC. But I know that their fans were not satisfied at all with what they saw this year as far as the competitive level and the end result. So, yeah, it's going to be a very interesting year for teams trying to revamp their rosters.
One note of the chat room on Houston, this is from Mansa Musa. Their travel schedule will be a lot better. You would think, because they were all over the place, even with, they've already been to Cincinnati, UCF. They know that. There'll be a West Virginia trip, a Utah trip, but might be a lot better because it's more condensed around them.
They were just going to what, SMU in-state? That was it?
Yeah. Probably,
and then maybe going to Tulane down in New Orleans, so that's a plane flight. But after, Wichita State.
Memphis is not that bad. Cincinnati, Temple, Wichita State, yeah, you're talking about that. Tampa, East Carolina, Tulsa. There was some condensed. There's probably about the same. I'm not going to get into the miles.
Going to Fort Worth and Waco and Austin and Lubbock and even Norman, that's going to be way, way easier than what they were dealing with
absolutely.
before.
And number 1. Which big dog rebounds the best? And I'm glad he probably didn't have to tell him to put this, but I'm curious because Baylor and Kansas both very disappointed with their exits and when they went out and not even being around for the Sweet 16 and the Final Four. That's the floor right now for those programs is the second weekend. You win 2 games. That's the floor for Kansas and has been for a long time. You win 2 games.
Yeah,
and that's the floor for Baylor now. You win 2 games, and then after that,
we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
because that's twice in a row, and they almost lost for the second consecutive year to a team that was headed to the Final Four.
Yeah.
With Creighton until, of course, the loss to San Diego State.
And again, there's no reason to hit the panic button in Waco because, again, you lost to an Elite Eight team and then a team that almost choked away the game against you, and then did choke away the national championship, but just one that was on an unbelievable tear. But I'm curious to see which of these two, they might rebound the exact same way. I mean, they're roster-wise, they're built very similarly now, year in and year out, as far as player for player, where that was not always the case, or that was not ever the case. Even in Baylor's best years, Kansas is always, for a long time, head and shoulders above them, and now, I mean, that gap has closed quite considerably.
Yeah, I think it's a bigger uphill climb for Scott Drew than obviously it is for Kansas to have to reload with Bill Self. There's a lot of turnover, and we still don't even know the extent of it yet. I mean, like you say, with Adam Flagler, LJ Cryer, or like what happens with those guys? How does that work out? So until we know that, it's hard to know what to expect. But yeah, definitely a lot of questions in Waco, and yeah, there are some in Lawrence as well. But of course you feel better about them because they've done it time and time and time again, having to replace ultra talented teams. But yeah, it's amazing what just winning that second game will do, huh? Yeah. You hang that Sweet 16 banner, and it's like, all right. After that, like, everything's cupcakes and cookies and extra sweetening. You get to the Sweet 16, get to hang that banner, and you feel pretty good about things. But you fall just one game short of that, and it's a failure of a year in so many ways, depending on your rosters. And I think for those two in particular, yeah, they fell short of their own expectations. And that's more than fair to say.
By the way, you talk about transfer portal. It's an interesting note. Bill Fennelly, who's the coach at Iowa State, one of their better players, is leaving. Her family made the decision. Obviously, this wasn't the place she wanted to be. That's okay. That's her choice. I'm focused on the kids that want to play at Iowa State. And that's kind of the way you have to look at it when men's or women's basketball. Garrett Ross, great job. Jack McKenzie has left the building. He was at Pro Day all day today doing what he does. And we appreciate all of you in the chat room. Thank you so much for your time, the text line, and our sponsors that continue to grow. We appreciate you. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, don't forget tonight, 10:30 on the CW Sports Tonight. Thanks to Emery Winter and what he does. And I'm David Smoak. Good night, 365 Sports.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right